In baseball history, for the World Series and the most complete news coverage, it's all right here on Channel 10.
Tonight is baseball, but after the series, Carol O'Connor and Carl Weathers return in the heat of the night, followed by Connie Chung's Eye to Eye, next Thursday after the World Series.
It was one of those nights. The baseball gods were about to offer us a World Series gift. There have been battles of October, but this one was war. And shots were fired early.
In the air to center, Devon White racing back, at the wall, can't get it. Well hit down the right field line toward the pole. It is a home run.
Now it was the Blue Jays' turn, a time for the world champions to prove that they are world class. They did their explaining like this. It was one of those nights. Time to tell your friends that something special is happening.
Well hit down the right field line. Carter drifting toward the pole. Home run. And he hits one deep to right. Forget about it. Way out of here.
All night, people watched the scoreboard change. All night, the pressure was on. All night, they played their guts out. And then around midnight, the baseball gods visited again.
Base hit. Olerud scores. Molitor stopped to third. Line to center. Dykstra can't get it. Little looper. Long run for Dykstra in right center. Can't get it.
It was one of those nights. Is there somebody, somewhere, who can give us another? If you were looking for any adrenaline in the city of brotherly love last night, you're plumb out of luck. And so, by the way, with the Phillies, after being up 5 runs, then losing by 1, Curt Schilling plans to change that one tonight. And maybe all this rain and drizzle is a metaphor for what this city is going through these days as they try to win at least one World Series game at home and stay alive. If not, those hard-charging, unbelievable Toronto Blue Jays will fly north out of the rain and celebrate another world championship. What's it gonna be, folks, as we have Game 5, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies live here on CBS. Hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien, and welcome once again to CBS Sports coverage of the 1993 World Series. Pardon us if we seem just a little bit out of breath. We're still trying to get over last night's World Series game of the century. Besides 29 runs, a game that had everything, and when it was over, people sort of looked in the mirror and said, what have we done?
I'm not going to go home and sit up tonight and worry about the fact that I didn't get them out. I didn't get them out. It's happened to me before. This just happens to be the World Series, and there's going to be a microscope on everything I do, so I don't have any excuses.
I've never seen a game like this at this level, and when you talk about the significance of it being a series game, it's just, you know, it kind of adds to the uniqueness and the specialness.
I'll have to watch this one on TV and figure out exactly what happened, but talking about tough losses tonight, it's a tough loss.
I'll look back at this game and say, hey, I played in one of the most exciting ball games. It may have been a little ugly as far as the walks, as far as you know, the base on balls and all the hits. But I tell you what, it was a very good game to sit back and watch and to play in.
Indeed. We must be doing something right because it's been raining all afternoon and evening, and the rain has just let up. We plan to get this one in. Maybe a little light rain later on, but they'll get this one in. Might be a little chilly tonight. We'd love to also promise you another game last night, but this network does have standards and practices, and we can't promise that one. But the way things go around here, fasten your seatbelts anyway. You never know what's going to happen. Sean McDonough and Tim McCarver will have the play-by-play when we come back. as we are ready for Game 5 of the World Series. The Blue Jays, the Phillies. Enjoy yourselves, everybody.
Their family was unbreakable till a woman from her husband's past pulled them into a mysterious murder. Bruce Boxleitner, Rachel Ward, Double Jeopardy, Sunday. This is CBS.
Every time Mercedes-Benz introduces a new car, other car companies rush to follow. And when Mercedes-Benz introduces a whole class of new cars, others scramble to catch up. Now Mercedes-Benz is introducing the new E-Class, featuring the powerful E420 V8. Other car companies may find this one even harder to follow.
Today, Heather Caldwell used them for a headache. Last night, Marcus Fessman used them to clean his contacts. And just this morning, Evelyn Ebo took one with her juice. Like thousands of people, they use Treasury brand products from Thrift Drug because they know Treasury brand products perform the same as national brands, but save you up to 50%, which is why Erica's mom is happy to let her use them all day long. Treasury brand, up to 50% savings and 100% smarter, only at Thrift Drug.
The 94 Ford Ranger is now at your Quality Plus Ford dealer.
No other truck is built for tough.
Now choose from 9 exciting Ranger models, including the newest, a Ranger Splash Super Cab 4x4. Plus, every Ranger now comes with a 24-hour roadside assistance program and is backed by a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. Now save $1,800, including $300 cash back from Ford. See the Truck Authority, your Quality Plus Ford dealer today.
You better hit the ground running in a new Ford truck. Hey, hey.
The Phillies hanging tough. Team coverage tonight on the Channel 10 News.
Regardless of the outcome tonight, this will be the final baseball game of 1993 at the Vet in Philadelphia. It's Game 5 of the World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, and it's great to have you with us. The Toronto Blue Jays lead this best-of-7 series 3-1. With a win tonight, Toronto will have defended its World Championship. The Phillies need a win tonight to send the series back to Toronto for Game 6. And, Tim, it is certainly an uphill climb facing the Phillies. They have to overcome last night's heartbreaking loss, and they also have to overcome history. This is the 37th time in World Series play in a best-of-7 format that one team has trailed 3-1, and the team trailing has only come back to win the series 5 times.
But as history shows, as a matter of fact, in 1925, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Washington Senators after trailing 3-1. The Yankees did it to the Braves in 1958, the Tigers to the Cardinals in 68, Pittsburgh did it to the Orioles in 1979, and Kansas City, the last team to be behind 3-1 and come back and win 3 in a row. I'm not too sure that it's as important that the Phillies are down 3-1, but how they got down. With Toronto coming back with 5 runs in the 8th inning last night, that is the latest that a team has come back from a 5-run deficit to win a World Series game in the history of World Series play.
And in the ongoing saga of Paul Molitor, he is in the lineup again tonight at third base. The pitchers for Game 5, a rematch of Game 1. Juan Guzman for Toronto, Curt Schilling for Philadelphia. The first pitch from the vet right after this.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 5 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Aged for a crisp, clean, classic taste. Lexus Luxury Automobiles. The ingenious products from Magnavox. They're smart, very smart. And by your Allstate agent. You're in good hands with Allstate.
There are so many people trying to figure so many ways to rip you off now that it's very hard by yourself to counter all these things.
Citibank called one night at 7 o'clock. Apparently, someone had bought 9 tickets to Vegas, gambled, and invited 9 of their best friends.
That's why, having somebody watch your back is good.
Citibank realized that I'd not made those charges, and it got taken care of.
It just makes you feel like you have an ally out there.
Just a few of the many people who rely on the security of not just Visa, Citibank Visa.
You need 2 hands to count all the special rates and discounts on Allstate car insurance. For more than 1 car, pickup trucks, anti-lock brakes, airbags, Good drivers, excellent drivers with Allstate Home Insurance. And retired drivers over 55. Just pick up a phone and call an Allstate agent for details. For lots of ways to save, you're in good hands with Allstate.
Introducing the Quantum Random Orbit Sander. It works 4 times faster than a finishing sander with swirl-free results. So now you can tackle any project from start to finish. The new Quantum line from Black & Decker.
Highway 421 near Spivey's Corner, North Carolina. Not exactly the place you expect to find a busy accounting firm like Duval & Dean. But thanks to Sprint Cellular and their car, Duval & Dean can handle clients clear across the state and still be there to take calls no matter where they are. There's one other advantage to doing business at 55 miles per hour. There's no fighting over who gets the window office.
I can take care of myself in the ring, but in my car, I trust Meineke for safe, reliable brake service at a low price.
Now more than ever, at Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot, but you'll get a lot.
I guarantee it.
Cito Gaston is using the same starting lineup as last night, with the exception of the pitcher. Ricky Henderson leads off in left field. Batting second in center field, Devon White. Roberto Alomar is the second baseman hitting third. The cleanup hitter, right fielder Joe Carter. John Olerud is at first base. Paul Molitor, the third baseman, hits sixth. Batting seventh, the shortstop, Tony Fernandez. Pat Borders is the catcher hitting eighth, and Juan Guzman is on the mound. And let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, Sean, the mood in the Phillies clubhouse before the game was upbeat and positive. There was no moping, and the music was blasting. I spoke with several of the Phillies, and they seemed to have put last night behind them. They also said that they feel that they need Curt Schilling to pitch 8 or 9 strong innings. If not, they won't be successful. One guy's real optimistic, Jim Fregosi. He told us that his bags are packed, and he's going to Toronto. He just hopes his friends are going with him. Sean?
Thank you, Jim. Curt Schilling, the losing pitcher in Game 1 when he went head-to-head with Guzman. His first pitch of Game 5, a breaking ball for ball 1 to Ricky Henderson. After a slow start in the first 2 games, Henderson has picked it up in the 2 games here in Philadelphia. Raised his average to .333 for the World Series. And he's up there now with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike.
Ricky has also led off each game by being on base. He has singled, doubled, and he's walked twice.
On the ground to second, the Mariano Duncan. John Kruk for the out.
The defense for the Phillies, Milt Thompson, the left fielder, he had a terrific night last night, and so did Lenny Dykstra. Jim Eisenreich in right, Dave Hollins at third base, Kevin Stocker at short, Mariano Duncan at second base, John Kruk at first, and Darren Dalton behind the plate.
And at the plate, Devon White, who's hitting .412 in the World Series, 7 for 17. And he had the game-winning hit in last night's game. Down the left field line and foul. It sliced into the stands. The umpires, Tim McClellan of the American League, working his first World Series, is behind the plate. Dana DeMuth at first, Dave Phillips at second, Paul Runge at third. Mark Johnson in left, and Charlie Williams is along the right field line. Taking all the way is White. 1-1 the count. Curt Schilling, the most valuable player in this year's National League Championship Series, although he did not post a win against the Atlanta Braves. He pitched well in his 2 starts. Schilling thought he was over-prepared for his Game 1 start against the Blue Jays. Watched hours of videotape. Said he had too many thoughts about the individual Blue Jay hitters going through his mind when they came to the plate.
That's usually what happens in postseason play. You do have a tendency to over-prepare. A good formula that I heard 30 years ago: as the media builds it up, you play it down.
3-2 pitch. Golfed out of play by White. Schilling says tonight he's going to worry less about the weaknesses of the Blue Jay hitters and go back to his pitching strengths. Another 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball in left. And no chance for Hollins, Stocker, or Thompson. Coming into tonight's game, the Toronto Blue Jays have hit .340 as a team. That's the highest team batting average in a World Series. And the Phillies are at .307 through the first 4 games. That's the 9th highest team batting average in a World Series. White to center, and Dykstra has room. Two down and no score in the top of the first.
I think what's going through the Phillies players' minds now is that Curt Schilling has to pitch a good ball game so we can get the confidence back of scoring runs and keeping a lead. And when you get blown out and a team comes back from a 14-9 deficit in the 8th inning, you really lose confidence in your pitching staff, and a good performance by Schilling will erase those doubts.
Roberto Alomar up there with a count of 2-0. He's 8 for 18 in the World Series and has stolen 4 bases. Blue Jays have scored 3 runs in the first inning in each of the first 2 games of this series played here at the Vet. The last 2 ball games. Of course, last night after they scored the 3 in the first, the Phillies answered with 4 in the bottom of the inning to set the tone for the night. 3 balls and a strike. And ball 4, just a little bit up and away. So Alomar is the first base runner of the night with 2 outs in the first.
The Blue Jays are not only a first ball hitting team, but also when they get on base, they like to steal on the first pitch. Their thinking is if they can steal on the first pitch, well, that gets things out of the way so the hitter can hit. Don't want your hitter, especially if he's a cleanup hitter, to be taking too many pitches to allow you to run. That's why they run on the first pitch.
Kruk holds Alomar at first. Out at the plate, 1 strike on Carter. Alomar 4 stolen bases, and he's only been thrown out once. The combination of Schilling and Dalton was tough to run on during the regular season. Dalton threw out 10 of 19 trying to steal when Schilling was on the mound. Out of play to the right, 0-2 on Carter. Roberto Alomar has 18 postseason steals in his career, and he's only been thrown out once. That was the ill-advised stolen base attempt at third in Game 2. Breaking ball just missed. One and 2 on Carter, who had 3 hits last night, including the double with 1 out that started the 6-run 8th. He scored the first of the 6 runs. Schilling missed inside. Hurt's 26 years old. He'll turn 27 in November. 6'4", 215 pounds. The 2-2 is outside. And the count is full, and with 2 outs, Alomar will be running with the pitch.
There are a lot of managers, and I'm sure Cito Gaston could be one, that believe that you should run with the count 2-2 and 2 outs. I've never believed that that's a good running situation, because if the pitcher misses with that pitch, it's 3-2, and it compels the runner to run with 3-2, 2 outs.
Alomar goes. Carter to center field. Dykstra. And that ends the inning. After a half inning of Game 5, the Blue Jays nothing, and the Phillies coming up.
Over 2 million vacationers visited historic Philadelphia last year. Not one of them, however, was a Lexus engineer. Why? Let's just say they were busy. The 1994 Lexus ES, improved, revised, refined. In a word, new.
I finally made it to the big leagues. And my first game, we get the call. And I'm thinking, how lucky can a guy get?
Beechwood aged for that fresh, distinctive taste. Crisp, clean, classic.
Nice shot.
The excitement strikes November 12th. The Three Musketeers, rated PG.
This is a Goodyear Aquatread, and this is a gallon of water. Aquatread's deep groove design channels water away. At highway speeds, it moves a gallon of water every second for outstanding wet traction. Aquatread, only from Goodyear.
Anyone can see that the new GE Profile Radiant Convection range is easy to clean, but the real technological advantage is what you can't see, so we'll show it to you in a roundabout way. Introducing the first GE range that circulates hot air all around your food, roasting meats up to 30% faster, so they get done to a turn on the outside while staying tender and juicy on the inside. Why does GE offer such an ingenious way to cook? Because we know how much of life revolves around dinner.
Like Cito Gaston, Jim Fregosi is also using the same lineup as last night, with the exception of the pitcher. Lenny Dykstra leading off in center field. Mariano Duncan at second base. John Kruk at first. The cleanup hitter is the third baseman Dave Hollins. Darren Dalton behind the plate hitting fifth. Jim Eisenreich at right field bats sixth. Milt Thompson, the left fielder, hitting seventh. Kevin Stocker at short bats eighth, and the pitcher Schilling hits ninth.
The defense for the Blue Jays: Ricky Henderson in left field, Devon White in center, and Joe Carter in right. Paul Molitor once again at third base. Tony Fernandez at shortstop. Roberto Alomar at second. John Olerud at first base. Pat Borders behind the plate. And Juan Guzman. He has perhaps the best stuff in the American League. His problem has been wildness. He set an all-time American League record with 26 wild pitches while walking 110. He also led the majors with 29 leadoff walks. But if he's in the strike zone, he's as tough as anybody.
Greeted by Lenny Dykstra, coming off a big night last night. Lifted his average for the World Series to .389. Guzman's first pitch is a fastball at the knees for strike one. Dykstra reached base his first 4 times up last night and scored on each of those 4 occasions. He had 2 two-run homers, had a double, and walked and stole a base. Drove in 4 and scored 4, but in the 8th, with his team down by a run, Wayne Ward got him looking for a big strikeout to end the 8th. But when you get 14 runs, ordinarily, you expect that's enough. Jim Fregosi joked that ground crew here had to replace home plate, that it was worn out, all the action it saw last night.
The last time during the regular season that 14 runs was scored by 2 teams was 1990, when Montreal beat Atlanta 16-14. Since that time, 7,500 games have been played.
And And as the result of a scoring change from last night, it was even a more prolific offensive battle between these two teams. You might remember that Paul Molitor in the 8th inning hit a bounding ball that eluded the grasp of Dave Hollins down the line. Originally it was scored an error on Hollins. We commented at the time that it was a very tough error to give Hollins. And just before the game tonight, the official scores announced that they had changed it to a double, making all of the runs in the game earned, adding another hit, which meant that the two teams last night tied another World Series record with 32 hits in the game. The 8th player in history to score 4 in a game, and the first Philly to hit 2 home runs in a World Series game. Lenny Dykstra up there with a full count.
Really unusual that Lenny has a 3-2 count on him, huh? Seems like every at bat he ends up with a count 3-2.
Ball 4. Well, the Phillies' game plan, and it was successful in game 1 against Guzman, was to be patient, make him throw strikes. And Guzman wound up having to leave the ball game after 5 innings because he had thrown 120 pitches. Guzman said he's going to change tonight. He knows that the Phillies will be taking early in the count, so he's going to try to throw strikes earlier in the count. Mariano Duncan, another one of the hitting stars in this series, and that is redundant. Dykstra's 2 stolen bases without being caught over the first 4 games.
Yeah, both teams with all the hitting that has been done by all of the players, both teams with averages over 300. Mariano Duncan leads both teams in hits with 9.
One strike on Duncan. Out in the Philadelphia bullpen, Danny Jackson is warming up. Jim Fregosi told us before the game tonight that Terry Mulholland will be available for use in tonight's game out of the bullpen. With the bullpen as beleaguered as it is, they need to be reinforced, and Mulholland will provide that tonight if necessary. And that means if Mulholland pitches tonight, Jackson would move up and start game 6, which would be Saturday in Toronto. And he originally slated to start game 7. He'd pitch on 3 days rest in game 6, and Mulholland would go back for game 7. Larry Boa, the third base coach.
Not unlikely that Mulholland could be the closer tonight with the problems Mitch Williams has had.
Although you could give him just about any Philadelphia pitcher's role, because they have all struggled in this World Series. Of course, the one guy who has pitched pretty well out of the bullpen is Roger Mason, because they have all struggled in this World Series. The one guy who has pitched pretty well out of the bullpen is Roger Mason. But he worked 2 2/3 innings last night, and Jim Fregosi wasn't sure before the game tonight if he'd be able to work in this ball game. No score. We're in the bottom of the first. The Phillies have the lead man on, and Duncan is up there with a count of 1-1. As Guzman throws to first again.
Maury Wills used to say that if you're not diving back to first base, you're not off far enough. The only base runner that I ever saw that was a terrific base runner and a fast base runner who didn't dive into first base going back was Lou Brock. He almost always went back standing up.
Well, Looked like Guzman tried to put a little extra on that delivery. 2 balls and 1 strike. Cito Gaston and the Blue Jays trying to become the first team to win back-to-back World Championships since the Yankees of 77 and 78. Dykstra runs. Duncan a swing and a miss, and the throw goes into center field. Dykstra on his feet and on his way to third. It's a stolen base for Dykstra, and an error on Borders, allowing Dykstra to take third.
Borders has a good pitch to handle, but the throw tails into the runner, and Alomar had no chance whatsoever to even touch the ball. Over the runner, and the runner, Lenny Dykstra, getting down, and because the ball was into him, Alomar had no chance, and Dykstra goes to third on the throwing error by Borders.
A runner at third with nobody out, in the count of 2-2 on Mariano Duncan. Popped up in shallow right center. Dykstra is tagging as Carter makes the catch. And Dykstra came about 10 feet down the line and stopped the high throw handled by a leaping Borders.
I think the reason Dykstra was tagging then was in the event that Alomar made the catch and was back on his heels. The proper guy caught the ball, Joe Carter, because he was going toward home plate. There's Dykstra tagging. He sees Alomar back up, but Joe Carter properly calls Roberto off the play and makes the throw home to hold Dykstra.
Dykstra at third with 1 out. No score in the bottom of the first. And the batter is John Kruk. He's 7 for 17. Despite the 32 hits combined by the two teams last night, Kruk went 0 for 5. Kruk foul tipped the high 91-mile-per-hour fastball from Guzman. Juan turns 27 years old next week. He's 5'11", 195 pounds, from the Dominican Republic. On the ground to second, and will get the run in. Alomar throws out Kruk. Dykstra scores, and the Phillies lead 1-0. That's the 4th RBI of the World Series for John Kruk.
The 9th RBI of the postseason for Kruk, and 7 of those RBIs were go-ahead RBIs, and this puts the Phillies in front. The last guy to do that, Gene Tennis, back in 1972 when he played with Oakland, and now he is the bench coach for Cito Gaston and the Blue Jays.
There's Gene. And Guzman's first pitch to Dave Hollins is a ball high. Phillies had scored a run without a hit in the bottom of the first. Last night in the first, they scored 4 runs with 1 hit. Hollins even in the count at 1-1. He had 2 hits and walked twice last night, scored 3 times, flied to center, ending the ball game against Dwayne Ward. Strike. Tim McClellan, the home plate umpire, tends to hesitate before coming up with the strike call. Two and 2. Should Hollins reach, Darren Dalton would bat next. And that ends the inning. First strikeout of the night for Guzman, but the Phillies take the lead after 1. It's 1-0.
Finally, there's a TV that proves technology can make our lives easier. A Magnavox TV with a precise color picture, smart windows which preview other channels, and the unique smart sound feature, which ensures your volume will stay at normal levels no matter what comes on. Magnavox is so smart, I didn't even have to show up for this commercial. How'd I do?
Great. You were great.
The innovative TVs from Magnavox. Smart, very smart.
The Tahitian Islands welcomed over 100,000 vacationers last year. Not one of them, however, was a Lexus engineer. Why? Let's just say they were busy. The 1994 Lexus ES, improved, revised, refined, in a word, new.
Hunger in the United States is at a record level. The best estimates are that there's 30 million people that are hungry in this country. There are many, many infants and young children who suffer from malnutrition. There's just no excuse for that kind of tragedy. What Cherishment does is we get resources to communities so that they can feed more people more effectively. It's going to take a lot to solve hunger in this country.
We're grateful for American Express card members' support in helping to provide a meal every time they use the card.
Now till December 31st, use the American Express card to help feed millions of people.
The charge against hunger is a battle that we can win.
Broncos, Cherokees, Pathfinders, any pickup or 4x4, on-road or off. Introducing the tough new LTX Light Truck Series from Michelin.
Okay, big finale.
Don't forget!
Premiering Wednesday.
South of Sunset. I'm the Caucasian. Columbia.
Comedy Broadcasting System.
Be there.
They mean here.
Phillies scored an unearned run in the bottom of the first, and they lead 1-0 as the Blue Jays bat in the second against Curt Schilling, with John Olerud to lead off. He's played in 3 of the first 4 games and has gone 3 for 10. Strike 1 over the inner third. Olerud, Molitor, and Fernandez. Batters 5, 6, and 7 coming up. That's a pretty impressive 5, 6, and 7.
I'll say
2 top hitters in the league, and then Fernandez, who's driven in 9 runs in 4 games.
Olerud, not only the top hitter in the American League, the top hitter against right-handed pitching. 396 against right-handers. Roberto Alomar was second with a 359 average. What a group to get through if you're a pitcher.
1-2 on Olerud. Certainly as a pitcher, you can't be under much more pressure than Schilling is tonight, pitching to keep his team's season alive.
A lot of people say the Phillies have to win 3 in a row. I think the way the players view it is that they have to have 3 one-game winning streaks.
As Jim Gray mentioned, the mood in their clubhouse was upbeat despite the crushing defeat of last night. Still 2-2 on Olerud. To left and dropping fast, Milt Thompson makes the running catch. Before the World Series started, we spoke with Curt Schilling about pitching under pressure.
If you apply it in a positive way, it's a good thing. You know, I thought there was pressure to win. I mean, that's a good pressure, though. I mean, that's the pressure you live to be in. There's negative pressure, and to me, that's self-inflicted. I mean, if you think there's any kind of negative pressure on you, then you're going about your job the wrong way. I mean, the pressure to win is the pressure that we play the game for.
Very well said. Schilling has not yet allowed a hit. Paul Molitor Here's the batter. He's now 8 for 15 with that scoring change. Has to be considered a leading contender for MVP honors in this series, but the Toronto offense has been so well spread out. Should they win it tonight, it would be tough, at least at this moment, to choose an MVP, or even who the leading candidate is. Here's a look back at the 8th inning of last night's game. A play that involved the scoring change. Hollins couldn't get a glove on it. Originally, that was scored an error. But it was changed to a double for Molitor and an RBI. Schilling behind in the count 3-1. We're in the 2nd, and the Phillies lead 1-0. To right and well hit. Eisenreich just in front of the track makes the catch. The last 4 outs recorded by Curt Schilling have come on fly balls.
And none of the fly balls have been pulled. White flied to center, Carter flied to center, Olerud the other way to left, and Molitor the other way to right. What does that mean? It means that Curt Schilling's throwing hard. So far, the Blue Jays haven't been able to get around on him.
Tony Fernandez leads the World Series with 9 runs driven in. Tony had 5 of those last night. He had 3 singles and also picked up an RBI with a ground out. Pulled foul into the seats. Another sellout crowd of better than 62,000 on hand at Veterans Stadium. And they are also at Sky Dome tonight. Sky Dome management opened the building and allowed the good people of Toronto to come in and watch the ball game. And as you can see, there are thousands there. Hernandez strikes out, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Schilling. That's his first strikeout of the ball game. After an inning and a half, 1-0 Philadelphia.
Cellular One has set up state-of-the-art cellular service that reaches clear across America. Beautiful, isn't it?
Movie dinner.
I love this place.
It's not a party without the new Burger King Everyday Value Menu.
Don't you have any refreshments around here?
The Value Menu has tasty flame-broiled burgers fixed your way for just 99 cents.
Anything you want.
Almost. Like, can you get with a $1.99 for a sandwich combo?
No problem.
And a Whopper Value Meal for only $2.99 every day. You know who we're doing it for.
For me.
Check your Burger King Value Menu for their everyday low prices.
We all gonna shoot over to Burger King.
Burger King?
Try the new Everyday Value Menu.
This is the jam.
This is a line. To some, it is seen as a barrier. To others, it's a point where traditions of the past are abandoned in favor of visions of the future. Introducing the revolutionary new Toyota Supra. It's taken everything sports cars were before and crossed the line.
All right, what is the best day of your life?
I'm 7 years old, and my dad takes me to Yankee Stadium. My first game. Sat there the whole game next to my dad. Taught me how to keep score. Mickey hit one out. Good day. I still have the program.
When I was about 18 and my dad and I couldn't communicate about anything at all, we could still talk about baseball. You know, that was real.
A message from Major League Baseball.
Get your game cards ready and stay tuned for the Budweiser World Series Classic Play at the end of the 5th inning. you could win $100,000.
Of course, getting a foul ball as a fan is always a big thrill when you come out to the ballpark. The World Series, it's even more of a thrill, and as a result, some fans are willing to go up and over to grab a World Series souvenir. Even shook hands. I'd like to see that in the city of brotherly love.
Speaking of World Series souvenirs, we have one dangling in front of us.
I
got a
noticed
fisherman above us.
There's somebody who really wants your autograph. A program dangling down from the upper deck. There's Darren Daulton bats.
Rather innovative.
One and two the count on Daulton. He leads off against Juan Guzman. 1-0 Philadelphia in the second inning of Game 5 of the World Series. Guzman will face Daulton, Eisenreich, and Thompson in the second. Well hit toward the gap in left center. Henderson on the run, and it's off the wall and a hop. And Darren Daulton has a leadoff double. That's the first hit for Philadelphia.
When Darren Daulton is hitting well, this is what he does so well, and that's keep in the front shoulder. That's why he hit the ball hard to left center field. Instead of trying to pull the ball, you end up hitting the ball off the end of the bat. This ball was really scorched to left center. A double for Daulton to lead off the second.
And Jim Eisenreich will try to move him to third. He squared the bunt and took a fastball low for ball one. It was 96 miles per hour on the gun downstairs. Eisenreich is tied with Milt Thompson for the Phillies club lead in runs driven in this World Series with 6. Even though Jim has only hit .235, he's gone 4 for 17. He swings away this time, bounced it down to first. Olderud stepped on the bag for the out. Daulton the third on the play. Let's get a scouting report on Juan Guzman from his battery mate, Pat Borders.
He can get away with just a fastball a lot of times because of the movement of his fastball. He doesn't even know which way it's moving a lot of times. He releases a little different every pitch. The ball may cut, the ball may sink. Sometimes he comes out like maybe a BP fastball out of his arm. He didn't quite get his arm through or something, so it's a different speed altogether, and he's not trying. So it's just a natural thing for him. That's good to have a Guzman when he has his control plus his slider and changeup. It makes it real easy to call a game.
As Tim noted earlier, it can be very difficult to be the catcher in a situation like this with as many wild pitches as Guzman throws. Daulton is at third, Thompson the batter. 2-0 the count.
Guzman had a wild pitch in game 1 that allowed Mariano Duncan to score, as a matter of fact. Defense is in for Toronto.
Thompson had a huge night last night. A single, a double, a triple. He drove in 5 runs. Two balls and a strike. Juan Guzman wears number 66. A couple of years ago in winter ball, he was given the number 66. Had a great winter. So he asked for number 66 when he went to spring training with the Blue Jays, and that coincided with his rise to prominence as one of the best pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. Popped up. Hernandez a long way to go out. Henderson a long way in to make the basket catch. Daulton played it halfway down the line. So he's back to third with 2 outs.
So Thompson fails to drive Daulton home. Henderson, playing perhaps too deep with his speed, was able to come in and make the catch. With a guy like Ricky Henderson, he can play 3 or 4 steps deeper than most guys because of his ability to track down anything in front of him.
Of course, Ricky has been hitting much better lately, and he credits it to a lady named Betty who works at the Sky Dome Hotel. Betty gave him a lotion, and he applied to his hands, and his hands aren't as sore the last couple of days.
Potion lotion.
Mm-hmm.
Little surprised they're pitching to Stocker here. You know, you can't pitch around a guy with a guy on third base because of Guzman's wildness. If you're going to pitch to him, you got to pitch to him and try to get him out and not work the corners, because Guzman doesn't have that type of control to work around a hitter like Stocker.
Of course, this is a decision that Cito Gaston never has to make in the American League. Stocker does not have an RBI in the World Series, largely a result of the poor numbers that you saw with runners on base. Smash past Olerud. Dalton is in. Stocker will have at least two as the ball hit the stands where they jut out in right. It's a double and a 2-0 Philadelphia lead.
The Stocker that the Blue Jays have seen doesn't have an RBI in the World Series until now. But, I mean, here's a .324 hitter during the season. You can't lose sight of that. And in my opinion, as we said before he got the double, you got to put him on and pitch to Curt Schilling. There's a tally out there on third.
Schilling, swing and a miss. Phillies lead 2-0. They've scored a run in each of the first 2 innings. Schilling had 147 during the regular season. He went 11 for 75. He tried to check his swing. It was too late, says Dana DeMuth. 0-2.
Did Schilling go too far? Oh, yeah, easily.
And Schilling strikes out. They pitched to Stocker, and he made it hurt. After 2 innings, 2-0 Philadelphia.
Introducing one of the most visually distinct automobiles you've ever seen. If we show it to you now, you'll be so busy looking that you won't be listening, and you won't hear about its precision handling, sophisticated safety systems, and that it's the most technologically advanced Celica Toyota has ever created. Okay, now you can look. The all-new Celica. Watch out, it's coming.
Start saving $300 a month when you're 23, and you could retire a millionaire. Start at 30, and you might reach 600,000. At 40, about 200,000. Which is why you need Prudential's Financial Assessment Program. A personalized computer analysis of where you are, where you want to go, and how we can help. Because nobody plans to fail. They just fail to plan. Call Prudential Insurance now.
There we were, a jillion miles outside of the hood. The bus got a flat, got no set. Homie's gotta cut his grass. What's up? Sold. The man's round sells, but he's got no beef. Pardon me. That was that. Huh? Yo, MC Cow Seller.
You trust your doctor to take care of you. But what happens when he violates that trust?
He got involved romantically, emotionally, and sexually with a patient.
What happens when the prescription is sex?
You're my therapist. You're not supposed to be doing this.
Betrayed. 48 Hours returns October 27th.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 5 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Aged for a crisp, clean, classic taste. Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Cellular One, clear across America. And by Bayer Aspirin, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Man can work a room, can he?
He sure can. Dave Raymond, the Phillies fanatic, son of longtime University of Delaware football coach Tubby Raymond. Pat Borders starts the third with a base hit. It was trapped by Eisenreich, who made a terrific play to get it on the hop. But Pat Borders has his 4th hit of the World Series.
Nice try by Eisenreich. He doesn't catch it in the air, but he does short hop the ball and keep Borders to a single. Nice play.
And you saw that outfield turf is still very wet. It rained until about a half hour before game time. Neither team took batting practice. Here's Juan Guzman. In his first major league at bat, an obvious bunt situation. Cito Gaston said of all of his pitchers, Guzman seemed to be the least comfortable as a hitter. His bunt fielded by Kruk. That's one. That's two. 3-6-4 double play.
John Kruk racing toward home, realizing he has a slow runner behind him in Pat Borders, who's not going to take advantage of Kruk leaving too early. And an easy double play. And that's the one thing that Cito Gaston told us before Game 3 here at Veterans Stadium, the first game here. He said, you know, at times he would just prefer that his pitchers strike out to stay out of the double play. Well, here in trying to bunt, he bunts into a double play.
2 outs and the base is now empty in the Toronto third. The Phillies lead 2-0. Top of the order, and Ricky Henderson, who started the ball game with a ground ball to second. Kurt Schilling has his fastball fouled out of play to the right. Schilling was stunned during the National League Championship Series when he went to a Philadelphia Flyers game across the street and was given a standing ovation. The first hockey game he had ever attended. Thought he'd sneak in and catch the game, didn't realize he'd be spotted by the crowd. It was a heartfelt standing ovation from the Flyer fans. We're off to a pretty good start, but I'm not sure anybody in this city is aware of it. Out of play and right. It's one of the byproducts of the Phillies sharing this stadium with the Philadelphia Eagles of the NFL is that Jim Fregosi, their manager, and the Eagles coach Rich Kotite have become very good friends. 1-2 on Henderson. Dykstra. That ends the inning. We'll return to Veterans Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
Meet Beavis and Butthead. Some call these characters violent, vulgar, and too focused on sex. What do kids think?
What is our society coming down to?
I think kids these days, they like vulgarness.
But the question is, should kids be seeing this kind of thing at all? Eye on America investigates tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
Hi. Do you know my new show, The Nanny, premieres after the World Series? Oh, you got something right here.
The Nanny premieres Wednesday, November 3rd. This is CBS.
You drive a car like this and you're going to be asked a lot of questions. Like, what kind of car is that? You say, it's an Eagle Vision TSI. They say, oh yeah, a Jeep Eagle. To which you respond, it's not a Jeep Eagle. That's where you buy it. Then you tell them all about its performance technology. Eagles do invite a lot of questions, but the next time someone calls an Eagle Vision a Jeep Eagle, you can tell them where to go.
Test drive a new Eagle Vision at your nearest Key States Jeep and Eagle dealer today.
Boomer! What's wagging? Big four again. Usual number. Straight. And box it, too.
50 cents each way.
The Pennsylvania Lottery's Big 4 game.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Don't forget to play both ways every day. You might be the lucky dog who wins.
This house is you, Boomer. And the owners aren't anxious to sell.
I know. Say we didn't get the package.
Martha!
Tom! Did you get our package?
Gee, it never got here.
Really?
Introducing tracking software from Federal Express.
It was delivered to your place at 9:22 a.m.
Ah! Probably stuck in the mailroom.
No, it was signed for by your partner, Brian.
Now you can track packages right from your computer on your desk.
Brian, are you there?
Oh, that package, Martha. We could negotiate a deal.
The Phillies hanging tough. Team coverage tonight on the Channel 10 News.
Welcome back to Veterans Stadium, where the Phillies lead 2-0 as we head to the bottom of the third. Top of the order coming up for the Phils. Lenny Dykstra leads off against Juan Guzman. And the first pitch is popped foul and out of play behind the Toronto dugout. Dykstra started the Philadelphia first with a walk. He stole second and took third when Borders' throw sailed into center field for an error and scored an unearned run. Charge to Guzman on a ground out by John Kruk. Guzman gave up an earned run last inning on a pair of doubles by Dalton and Stocker. Two. And Dykstra, as is so often the case, takes a stroll around the batter's box. He does that after just about every pitch. And there's been so much talk during this World Series about solutions to speed up the game. One of them might be to require the hitters to hang around the batter's box a bit more often.
Develop new habits. That's really all it is. It's a habit.
We used to call Mike Hargrove when he played. He's now the Indians manager, of course, the human rain delay. And Jim Fregosi says just about everybody in baseball now is the human rain delay. Two and two. Juan Guzman came to the Blue Jays back in 1987 in what looked to be a very minor deal at the time. He came over from the Los Angeles Dodgers for infielder Mike Sharperson, who was just a utility player at that time for Toronto and had been up and down between the Blue Jays and their minor league club. But Guzman has developed into one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. Strange movement on that pitch.
That's what he did a lot with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers gave up on him. They thought he was the type of pitcher that certainly had a good arm, but he was too wild. Scout Al Lamakia saw him pitch in a B game at Vero Beach, where the Dodgers trained, and said, here's a guy worth taking a chance on. And he's the guy who suggested him to Pat Gillick.
We talked last night about the great Blue Jay organization from top to bottom, and Al Lamakia is another guy who deserves a lot of credit for the great work he does in scouting. He did the Blue Jays advanced scouting, followed Philadelphia around to get Toronto ready for the World Series. 3-2 is a fly ball in shallow right center. And caught by White. Nice running catch by the Gold Glove center fielder for the first out of the inning. If you're just tuning in, the Phillies took the lead in the first. An unearned run scored by Dykstra as he walked, stole second, took third on an error, and scored on a ground out by Kruk. And the Phillies scored again in the second. Kevin Stocker doubled with 2 outs to drive in Darren Dalton, who had started the inning with a double. Mariano Duncan is the hitter with 1 out in the third. Down to third. Molitor continues to play very well in the field. He has not had a miscue in 3 games now in the field. 1 game at first base and 2 at third.
Talked to Jim Fregosi before the game, and he said, hey, I'm unfazed by what happened last night. We played a lot of games like that. Sean, you and I were talking before the game, but not a lot of games that was that were the fourth game of the World Series.
And they certainly did play in their fair share of slugfest during the regular season. They were able to bounce back from losing their share of them. You mentioned the circumstances a lot different in the World Series. John Kruk has a hit. After an 0 for 5 last night and after grounding out his first time up tonight, Kruk has his 8th hit of the World Series, and he's aboard with 2 outs.
Hits this one hard up the middle. Alomar playing Kruk to pull on the ground. They play John shifted around toward left field in the outfield. So John Kruk with a 2-out single.
And that brings up Dave Hollins, who struck out swinging to end the first. Guzman has finished each of the first 2 innings with a strikeout.
Phillies underdogs to the Atlanta Braves. They beat them in 6. They're underdogs coming into the Blue Jays. And they're trailing 3 games to 1 and have to win 3 in a row. They have been written off more than a 3-martini lunch.
1-1 on Hollins.
Jim Fregosi, however, still confident. Loves these guys. They give you 9 innings every day of hard baseball.
Line to right, and it falls for a hit. Kruk stops at second as Carter fires it back in. So the Phillies are trying to put something together with 2 outs here in the third. Dave Hollins has his first hit of the night.
High fastball, and Hollins gets around on it. Where pitchers try to pitch Dave is up and in, but he handles this fastball from Guzman and rifles one to right.
Kruk at second. Hollins at first for Darren Dalton, who doubled on one hop off the fence in left center and scored last inning. 4 hits now for the Phillies, and ball 1 up and away from Guzman. And Cito Gaston is on his way to the mound.
Most pitchers have to hit spots, working the ball in and out. With a guy like Juan Guzman, you just tell him, throw the ball down the middle of the plate. Let your natural action take care of things. Don't try to be too fine. The corners are the spots for most pitchers, but for Guzman, it's the plate.
We mentioned that the Blue Jays are trying to become the first team since the Yankees in 77 and 78 to win consecutive world titles. When they did it, they had a different manager each year. Billy Martin the first year, Bob Lemon the second. So Cito Gaston would be the first manager to win consecutive world titles since Sparky Anderson did it with the Reds in 75 and 76. 2-0. The count on Dalton. And it seems that Cito Gaston is just now getting the respect that he deserves, despite his phenomenal winning percentage since he became the Blue Jay skipper in 1989. The 2-0 pitch. Pop foul, and it drifts out of play.
Talking to Cito before the game, and he said he really doesn't care whether the fans respect him, the press respect him, but he is happy because he feels like the players respect him. And he said, and as honest as he could be, that he means it. As long as he has the players' respect, and he certainly does that.
A pop-up very high in the direction of Alomar and Olerud. Alomar puts it away. And the Phillies strand 2 in the third. After 3, 2-0 Philadelphia.
Toyota proudly presents All-Around Champions. Since his 23-game winning season, Danny Jackson has learned a few hard lessons, like believing in yourself, even when things are tough. That's why he's giving time back to the community. Watching his efforts pay off as homeless families begin to believe in themselves may be one of his most satisfying victories. Toyota is pleased to salute all-around champion Danny Jackson by contributing $1,000 to the People's Emergency Center.
Since Toyota truck reliability and dependability are put to the test in America, Toyota said, build them here, too. You know what? Most are. But the ultimate test is right here. Toyota 100,000-mile storage, over 60,000 of them, and more coming every day. Toyota trucks, the reliability's built in. Toyota trucks, you just gotta love them.
Excellent. Wait a minute, guys, there's more.
Check it out.
Guys!
It's a pizza guy, man.
Much more, guys, like free HBO for a month. Free HBO. Free HBO. Can I also mention it's free?
Prove it. Just hand me the coupon, guys.
Here we go.
Whoa.
Buy any Bigfoot pizza and get a free trial month of HBO. Just mail in the coupon.
Well, back to you, Jen. Who are you?
Bigfoot pizza, a legendary value.
A year ago, AT&T Special Country Savings was born. Now to celebrate its first birthday, we're giving you even more savings on international calls. Double the savings on Saturdays in October and November. And not just to 1 or 2 numbers, but to everyone you want to call in the international country of your choice. 30% off with AT&T. Call now to sign up and enjoy a birthday gift from us to your favorite country.
This game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
The Phillies scored an unearned run in the first and an earned run in the second on an RBI double by Kevin Stockard. They desperately need a big performance from Curt Schilling, and he has provided them with 3 scoreless innings of 1-hit pitching. Facing Devon White, who sends it just over our heads. Devon flied to center in the first. He has 7 hits in the World Series. 6 of them have gone for extra bases. The World Series record for most extra base hits in one series is 7. Devon needs 1 to tie Willie Stargell, who had 7 for the Pirates in '79. That was the year in which Pittsburgh overcame a 3-1 deficit in the World Series, and that's what the Phillies are trying to do against Toronto. White, Alomar, and Carter coming up against Schilling in the fourth. 2-0 Phillies. White strikes out in a bad pitch.
We have talked so much in this series about the defensive abilities of Roberto Alomar. He can go to his left, as he did in Game 1. He can go to his right, as he did in Game 1, to save a run. He can jump and throw the ball at the same time. And he can hurdle. Remarkable athlete.
And he can hit a little bit, too. 444 in the World Series. He was the 3rd leading hitter in the American League during the regular season. And it's interesting to hear a discussion about Roberto Alomar as a potential Hall of Famer. He's only 25 years old. But already there is speculation about whether or not he'll make the trip to Cooperstown. If he continues on this pace, he's a lock.
How about the deal the Padres from San Diego made 3 years ago? Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez going to San Diego for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter. And now the Blue Jays have both Alomar and Carter, who have starred for them over the last 3 years. Tony Fernandez is back with them, and Fred McGriff's in Atlanta.
The 2-2. Well hit, base hit. A single to right for Roberto Alomar. That's the first ball pulled by a Toronto hitter tonight, Curt Schilling.
Looked like a splitter, and Schilling got it up a bit, and Alomar told Dalton, I'll handle this one. And he did.
You don't see trades like the one you were talking about much anymore. The big blockbusters. So much of the maneuvering is hampered by contracts nowadays. Many trades really based on a swap of salaries as much as anything else.
Certainly in San Diego's case, that has been the case over the last year and a half.
Well, they are swapping players who have salaries for players who really don't have one. Tony Fernandez back with the Blue Jays. And to think at one time they used to call Toronto general manager Pat Gillick Stand Pat because he didn't make any moves.
Anything but that the last 2 years.
12 new faces on this World Series roster from the Blue Jay club that won it all a year ago. No balls and 2 strikes on Joe Carter, who was out on a fly ball to center his first time up. Cito Gaston says despite all the new faces, this is the best bunch of guys, use his words, that he has had in his stint as Toronto manager. Just outside, 1-2 on Carter.
A good 0-2 pitch by Curt Schilling, trying to get Joe Carter to fish at the ball off the plate. But Joe says fish aren't biting.
But he is directing. Bob Fishman, our director tonight. Bob Dickus, our producer. Happy to have you with us for Game 5 of the World Series. 2-2 on Carter. Alomar at first with 1 out. 2-0 Phillies in the 4th. Good move by Schilling. And that had Alomar lunging back to first.
Schilling gave up 11 stolen bases this year. However, 11 were caught stealing. And this shot shows Alomar getting just in under the tag of John Kruk. You can see how the first base position is made for a left-handed thrower. The glove on the right hand, all the pitcher has to do is throw the ball to the glove. Much easier to make the tag than with a right-handed throwing first baseman.
Slashed out of play. Still 2-2 on Carter. Nick Leyva, the third base coach, he took over at mid-season when Rich Hacker, who's been the Toronto third base coach the past couple of years, was seriously injured in a car accident. Leyva had been managing the Blue Jays AAA club in Syracuse, New York. And it's wonderful to see Rich Hacker back in uniform. He is with the Blue Jays here in the postseason after missing the second half of the regular season. The 2-2 is popped out of play.
And that's the ideal place that right-handed pitchers try to pitch Joe Carter in tight. He's a good low ball hitter, but more than that, he likes to extend his arms. But you can't just stay there. Like all good hitters, you have to move the ball around. But you hope you can set up Carter to where he'd be vulnerable for that fastball inside. But he fought that one off. Count remains 2-2.
Check swing, no swing, says Dana Demuth.
Now the pitch was very close to being a strike, but a little outside, and Carter did hold up, it appeared. See, the hands come across, but the barrel of the bat does not come across the plate.
On a 3-2 pitch, it's strike 3 and a double play. After 3.5 of the bet, 2-0 Philadelphia.
Imagine a wonder drug that could help reduce minor arthritis pain so the Panthers wouldn't lose their star shortstop. One that could relieve headaches so more boys could come out to play. A drug that studies show reduces the risk of second heart attacks. Imagine a drug that holds answers to all these ailments so families could gather for years to come. A wonder drug? Yes, it's genuine Bayer aspirin. The wonder drug that works wonders.
Having been ranked the best compact sport utility vehicle in initial quality by its owners, we thought the Toyota 4Runner's extra value package might go unnoticed. So we put a twist on it. You get chrome bumpers, leather seats and trim, air conditioning, power windows, door locks, mirrors, and more for a savings of up to $1,000. Nice catch.
In just over a half hour, your family will disappear out the door. What do you fix for dinner?
Well, if you're ready to go when I am.
It's quick. It's easy.
Oh, I invited Bobby over.
It's beef.
Hey, Bobby, pull up a chair.
It's what's for dinner.
Never before have critics unanimously declared one movie such an absolutely fantastic, fun-filled delight for the whole family. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's wildly imaginative, a dazzling animated funhouse, and an instant classic for both kids and grown-ups. Don't miss the movie Siskel and Ebert give 2 thumbs up.
Fantastic!
The Nightmare Before Christmas, rated PG. Starts Friday in select cities. Check newspaper for showtimes.
From New Zealand, a stellar field of Olympic medalists and World Cup champions compete at the Jeep Eagle Tournament of Champions Ski Series this weekend on CBS Sports Saturday.
Look at the obstacles Darren Dalton has to cope with. First the bat, now the body, and a nice throw to Mariano Duncan to nail Roberto Alomar. Nice on both ends. First Dalton, and secondly Duncan.
So it is still 2-0 Phillies as they bat in the 4th against Juan Guzman. Jim Eisenreich up there with a count of 2-0. He bounced to first in the 2nd. Juan Guzman to face Eisenreich, Thompson, and Stockert here in the 4th. Alomar throws him out. Soggy turf and very worn here at the vet. They're talking about replacing it within the next couple of years. The Phillies management would like to see a new turf surface by 1995 in this municipally owned stadium. The All-Star game is going to be played here in 1996. Guzman missed with ball 1 high to Milt Thompson, who flied to left in the 2nd. The 2-0 is just low, and Thompson is in the driver's seat. 3 balls and no strikes. Ball 4. The Phillies have had at least 1 base runner in every inning. That's the 2nd walk issued by Guzman. A runner at first with 1 out in the 4th. 2-0 Philadelphia. The Phillies have out-hit the Blue Jays 4-2. Toronto has made the game's only error, and it led to an unearned run in the first. Guzman will work next to Kevin Stockert. Blue Jays elected to pitch to Stocker in the second with Dalton at third and 2 outs, and with the pitcher on deck. Stocker made them pay when he doubled down the right field line. Thompson was not running on the first pitch to the shortstop.
He wasn't running then on the pitch out either. You have to think that Guzman would be a very tough pitcher on which to hit and run, because he throws a lot of high fastballs. The ideal hit and run pitcher is a pitcher who is always around the plate and who throws ground balls. Try to open up a hole, get a middle infielder covering, and then shoot it through the hole, vacated by the infielder who's covering.
You saw Gene Tennis flashing signs. He will occasionally call for pitch outs. Thompson is not running, and Stocker looked at a fastball high. So Guzman has missed the strike zone with each of his last 6 pitches. Strike. Borderline pitch, 2-1. The count on Stocker.
Stocker thought it was inside and maybe a little low, but it appeared to be in the strike zone. Yep, on the corner. With the left-handed batter up, Tony Fernandez will give the sign to Roberto Alomar. If he opens his mouth and the runner runs, that means Alomar is covering. You have it. If his mouth is closed, then he has it. So shortstop covering here.
Thompson does not run, and Stocker looked at ball 4. So Guzman has walked 2 in a row. That's a good reason not to run with Guzman's periodic control trouble. He gave Thompson the free ride down to second base as he put Stocker on at first.
That's a good point. And also an illustration of what Jim Fregosi thinks. He says that young hitters, if he sends the runner with the count 3 balls and a strike, the batter is more apt to be swinging at the ball just off the plate. It may be a ball, and he wants his hitters to be patient. Therefore, he rarely will send the runner at first with a count 2 balls and no strikes to a hitter, or 3 balls and 1 strike.
Somewhere in the crowd tonight is Jim Fregosi's daughter, Jennifer, who is a senior at the University of South Florida, and Jim's a little worried about her academic progress this semester because she's missed an awful lot of class time to attend these postseason games. Kurt Schilling squared the bunt and left the bat out there long enough to get a called strike. 89 on the high fastball. 1 strike on Schilling, who struck out swinging against Guzman in the second. Juan is only fan 2 to this point. We're in the 4th, and the Phillies lead 2-0. And they have first and second with 1 out. Schilling squares again, and he fouled it at the plate, 0-2.
Bat's in foul territory. If the bat's in foul territory and you bunt the ball, more often than not, you'll bunt it foul. That's why hitters are encouraged, once they square around, to push the bat out into fair territory.
Interesting on that shot of Jim Fregosi that he did not have his lucky Phillies jacket on. But he wore through much of the season. Schilling punts, and it's a good one. Borders has to go to first. It's a sacrifice. 2-4 the scoring. Borders to the second baseman, Alomar. And now there are 2 men in scoring position with 2 outs.
Well, this is a blueprint by Curt Schilling on the slider. You can see the spin on the slider. Look how he deadens it. So Borders has to feel it instead of the on-charging John Olerud.
And the fans are on their feet as Lenny Dykstra steps to the plate, but they're going to intentionally walk him. And Cito Gaston talked before the game tonight about how impressed he has been in this series by Lenny Dykstra. Certainly, it would be difficult not to be impressed with the way he has played. But they'll put Dykstra on the 3rd walk of the inning and get back to a right-handed hitter with Duncan coming up next.
Cito Gaston saying that Dykstra reminds him of some of his hitters. Obviously, any manager would love to have Lenny Dykstra.
You do roll the dice, do you not, though, Tim, a little bit in this situation with
Yes.
Guzman's control trouble. Now you force him to throw strikes with the bases loaded and Duncan coming up.
But with Dykstra being as hot as he has been, you almost have to walk him right there and hope that Guzman can throw strikes, especially with the right-hander coming up.
Duncan 0 for 2 tonight. Still 9 for 22 in the series, a 4.09 average. Tonight he's flying to right and bounced to 3rd. Good breaking ball. A swing and a miss by Duncan, who, despite the control troubles of Guzman in the inning, went up there hacking at the first pitch. Thompson, the runner at 3rd. Stocker at 2nd. And Dykstra at 1st. All 3 reached via the walk. Duncan might have chased 2 pitches off the plate here, and he's in the hole 0-2.
I think he did. Both sliders. So if he chased those, there's no need to set him up. Just continue going out there. Because if you come inside with a fastball, you may make a mistake with it. Look for something away from Guzman.
Up and away that time. 1-2 on Duncan. Guzman has been a consistent winner as a major leaguer. His lifetime record in regular season play in the majors is 40 wins and only 11 losses. The 1-2 pitch. He struck him out with the slider to end the inning. The Phillies have stranded 6. After 4, they lead 2-0.
What they do is simple. So simple it would be easy to miss it altogether. But they're making a difference. You see, drunk driving fatalities are down 32% in the last 10 years. And fatalities from teen drunk driving are down 60%. So to everyone who checks an ID, offers to call a cab, or helps a customer know when to say when, we extend our thanks. By doing what's right, you are making things better. A message from Anheuser-Busch.
Hey, what's this? You've been driving imports for years.
I like the Grand M more.
Well, yeah, but looks are in everything.
Excuse me.
Okay, so it's fun to drive. Come on.
It's got anti-lock brakes and an airbag standard. And even with a V6, it costs thousands less than a corridor Camry.
Whoa, so I'm talking to a convert.
We are driving excitement, Pontiac. It feels good to be driving American again.
For the first time, there's a saw that combines a 12-amp motor, dust collection, and an auto brake. So there's no limit to what you can build. Introducing the Quantum Circular Saw, new from Black & Decker.
What tire do you trust in the wet? A tire that removes over 2 gallons of water per second from under the tread. The all-season MX-4. Another engineering splash from Michelin.
You're unbelievable. You're so unbelievable.
You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
A thank you message from Major League Baseball.
A look back at Game 5 of the 56 World Series.
Larson is ready. Gets the sign. 2 strikes, ball 1. Here comes a pitch. Strike 3. Another hit. Perfect game for John Larson.
Don Larson with a strikeout of Dale Mitchell for the final out in the only perfect game in World Series history. He needed only 97 pitches to do it, and the Yankees wound up winning that series in 7. John Olerud is the hitter, facing Curt Schilling. 1-1 the count. Of course, the irony of that was that in Game 2 of the 56 World Series, Don Larson was the losing pitcher. And that was one of the 2 World Series games in which the team overcame a 5-run deficit to win, prior to the Blue Jays doing it last night. Game 2 of the 56 World Series. Larson was the losing pitcher, blew a 6-run lead, 6-0. Olerud, high fly down the right field line and deep. Eisenreich in the deep corner makes the catch. With his back up against the fence, just in front of the 330 mark.
When a pitcher doesn't put it on the corner of the plate, usually the hitter hits it to the corner of the field. And Olerud just missing a home run off Curt Schilling.
Paul Molitor. Slide to right his first time up. Duncan bobbled it and threw it away. Dalton in perfect position backing up the play to prevent it from going in the dugout, and he saved base advancement by Molitor, who would have been at second. Instead, he's at first on an error by Duncan.
The big league error right here. Duncan back on his heels, that in-between hop ate him up, and now he makes the pivot and tries to throw. And look at Dalton. He's right there to prevent the ball from going into the dugout. Positioned perfectly.
That's Duncan's first error of the World Series. Each team has made an error tonight. And the tying run is at the plate. Tony Fernandez, the batter. We're in the 5th. The Phillies lead 2-0. Fernandez struck out his first time up. He has already set a World Series record for runs batted in by a shortstop with 9.
The record for runs batted in a World Series, Bobby Richardson with 12 RBIs in the 1960 World Series. The Yankees losing to Pittsburgh in 7. Famous Bill Mazeroski home run over the head of Yogi Berra off Ralph Terry to win it.
Line to left, well hit. Thompson backing up to make the catch. And Molitor went most of the way to second. Retreats to first with 2 outs. The RBI record in the World Series for a shortstop had been 7 by Bucky Dent in 1978, prior to Fernandez collecting 9 in this World Series.
Yeah, that's after Bucky Dent hit the famous 3-run homer at Fenway to beat the Red Sox.
What home run?
What home run?
We New Englanders have eliminated that.
Off Mike Torres. You're in denial, right?
Yes, indeed. It never happened. We have blocked it from our memory banks. That was indeed the same year. Borders the batter. He singled to right in the 3rd. Schilling quick move to first, and Kruk had to reach for the throw. Molitor can run at age 37. He had 22 stolen bases during the regular season, was only thrown out 4 times.
to the left of Kruk.
Slicing out a play and right. The ball and a strike on Borders.
I think if you run in a situation like this, you have to be more sure that you can make second base. You're down by 2, the bottom part of the order up. If Borders gets a hit, that clears the pitcher. If he doesn't get a hit, at least it clears a right-handed batter against Schilling.
In the air in left center, Dykstra going back and waving off Thompson. On the warning track, he makes the catch. A couple of deep fly balls for outs for the Blue Jays in the 5th. Halfway through the ball game, Philadelphia 2, Toronto nothing.
Someone very special is on that train. That's why you're driving a Buick LeSabre. You love its powerful V6 engine, anti-lock brakes, and steel safety cage body unit. But you bought LeSabre for the dual airbags, one for you and one for that very special person who sits next to you. LeSabre from Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
When you're the world's largest hotel and entertainment complex, the MGM Grand, you need plenty of wide open spaces. So it's only fitting that a city of pyramids, palaces, and castles would be the new home of our 5,000-room kingdom, complete with a magical Emerald City, a 15,000-seat event center, even a 33-acre theme park. Las Vegas, where the lion will reign supreme. Try to take it.
You have any idea why Duracell batteries last so long?
Why they last so long?
Yes.
I can never explain why. I'm not a sort of an engineer, but it's all we carry. And never got a complaint.
That's good enough for us, Mike.
Duracell. No other battery lasts longer.
What would you do?
Don't make a sound. Just give me the keys.
How would you react?
Where's your wallet? It's in my briefcase. Get it. Get it.
Would you do the unthinkable?
Put down the knife.
For the first time in 12 years, this drama captured all 3 of Emmy's top honors.
Was he holding a knife when you shot him?
Best Actor, Tom Skerritt.
I ask you a question. He was trying to kill me.
Best Actress, Kathy Baker.
You seem to be taking this very personally.
In Emmy's Best Drama Series, the critics call it amazing, a classic.
The defendant is the mayor of the town.
I will not call it self-defense.
Tomorrow, you cannot miss the most shocking season premiere of the year.
I don't think he's a criminal. It's vigilantism.
The people think you're a hero.
I looked right into his psychotic eyes, and I pulled the trigger.
Experience TV's best hour.
Will the defendant please rise?
Don't miss the explosive season premiere of Picket Fences tomorrow on CBS.
The 194-foot-long Bud 1 airship with camera operator George Schafsma aboard is using its eye-in-the-sky camera to bring you the scenic shots from 1,000 feet above the vet tonight. And it's nice that the weather is cleared up. John Kruk, the batter. He bounced to second but drove in a run in the first. He brought Dykstra in from third. And he singled to center off Guzman in the third. Guzman has only given up 4 hits. It trails 2-0, one of the runs unearned. Bottom of the 5th, first pitch, a ball low. Kruk had a chance in this postseason to play against his former minor league roommate Ozzie Guillen. Now with the White Sox in the World Series, as Chicago defeated Toronto in the ALCS, Kruk and Guillen would have been reunited. They roomed together for 3 years in the minors in the San Diego organization. Of course, Guillen spoke very little English when he came.
Signed as a 16-year-old, as a matter of fact.
Ozzie says John Kruk taught him how to speak English and how to drink beer. But Ozzie said that John Kruk was also wonderful in taking Guillen and his wife under his wing, helped them find an apartment. They went on road trips. Kruk would give his television set to Guillen's wife so she could watch it. The count is 2-2. Hollins on deck and then Dalton. Big swing and a miss for strike 3 in the first out of the 5th inning. In game 1, it was Roberto Alomar's defense that propelled Toronto to victory. Jim Eisenreich had a big 3-run homer in game 2 to cap a 5-run third that propelled Philadelphia to a 6-4 win. Then it was the 10-run uprising for Toronto in game 3. Paul Molitor keyed the attack, and last night was indeed one for the record books. 15-14 Toronto, highest scoring game and longest game in World Series history. And the Blue Jays lead 3-1 as they play game 5. Halfway through, the Phillies lead 2-0. Trying to keep the series alive and send it back to Toronto for game 6 and 7 if necessary. Hollins to right. Carter the catch, 2 outs. Hollins now 1 for 3.
The last time the Phillies scored 14 runs and lost a game was back on August 3rd, 1969, and then they did it on consecutive days. How weird is that? They lost 16-15 to Pittsburgh, and then the next day they lost 19-15 to the Cubs. Matter of fact, the highest scoring game in history involved the Phillies. The Cubs and the Phillies scored 49 runs back in 1922. The game 26-23.
In favor of the Cubs. Darren Dalton doubled and scored in the 2nd, popped to 2nd in the 3rd.
Phillies also involved in that 23-22 game against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field in 1979. That was won by the Phillies.
High fly to right. Carter drifting back onto the warning track to make the catch. And the Phillies go in order for the first time tonight. We've played 5, and Philadelphia has a 2-0 lead.
No, my plane's stuck somewhere back
Your flight has been canceled. The 5 most hated words of every business traveler. On a day like this, I know it's not the airline's fault. Still, I just want somebody to give me some answers.
Let's see if we can reroute you to another city.
Those are the people I come back to. They try and find a way and give me my best option, maybe even on another airline. I appreciate that, because a little honesty goes a long way. Tell Billy by halftime, I'll be there.
You've waited for a Buick. You've waited for Buick quality at a low sticker price. You've waited for a car with Buick's reputation for safety. It seems you've waited for a century. Buick Century. With standard driver airbag, anti-lock brakes, power locks and windows, and more. All for $14,995. So don't wait any longer. See your Buick dealer today. This is the value of the century.
Far from Bourbon Street, in its own little corner of the Garden District, is the most fabled house in New Orleans, the Maple Street Children's Bookshop, where the folks who write the books also read them. So if you go, bring your wildest imagination and your Visa card, because at Maple Street, they'll take you on a truly magical journey, but they won't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Random access memory. Really good. Now, once again, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte.
At Compaq, we realized that learning about computers can be pretty intimidating. So we invented Presario, computers designed and priced to make it easier. They come loaded with all the software you need to get started right away. And they're backed by a 3-year warranty.
WYSIWYG.
So instead of sounding smart about computers, you can be smart about computers. The new Presario from Compaq.
Get out your game cards. It's time for the Budweiser World Series Classic Play.
Game 5, 1984. Sparky Anderson became the first person to manage World Series champions in both leagues.
Sparky's record. Write it down. You could win $100,000 from Budweiser.
Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver, Jim Gray, and Pat O'Brien at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Game 5 of the World Series. And the Phillies, needing a win to stay alive, lead 2-0 as Toronto bats in the 6th. Juan Guzman bunted into a 3-6-4 double play in the third. Schilling will face Guzman in the top of the order, Henderson and White. And Cito Gaston said that Juan Guzman appeared to be the least comfortable at the plate. Many of his pitchers, and I understand why with that track record. Only one hit in the minors.
Would you see him look back on the strike call, however? He looked back questioning home plate umpire Tim McClellan.
Probably said, just remember that kind of pitch when I'm out there throwing. The swing seemed to be an afterthought. And Guzman strikes out. Wonderful moment between innings. Nick Leyva, former Phillies manager, welcomed back by the Philly fanatic to the strains of Anything for You by Gloria Estefan. And that was Joe Carter, who was a huge Philly fanatic fan. That has him in plenty of company. That's a majority opinion. Anybody who's ever seen the Fanatic. And a nice touch by Nick Leyva as well. Nick Leyva told a great story about, a touching story about the day he was fired by the Phillies early in his third year as Philadelphia manager. Said he got the news and went to his son Casey's school so that Casey wouldn't hear it from somebody else. Picked Casey up at school. Casey, 8 years old. He said, "I've been let go." Casey said, "You mean you've been fired, right?" As usual, the youngster has a way of getting right to the heart of the matter. Leyva won on Henderson.
Leyva still lives in the Philadelphia area. As a matter of fact, one of his golfing buddies in the wintertime, Lenny Dykstra, the Phillies.
Leyva was one of the first to call and congratulate General Manager Lee Thomas of the Phillies. Philadelphia clinched the National League East this year. Lee Thomas, of course, was the man to let Leyva go.
Henderson complains about this pitch. That ball's a strike.
2-2 on Rickey. Pulled foul past Nick Leyva. Curt Schilling pitched a shutout against the Dodgers back in April. And after the game, Don Drysdale sought him out, tell him how much he admired the way he pitched aggressively, just as Drysdale did during his playing days. Schilling had some rough outings just before the All-Star break. He went 0-5 prior to the break, cost him a trip to the All-Star game in Baltimore. And he spent a lot of time during the break thinking about Don Drysdale, who died tragically on July 2nd. The 3-2 to Henderson is fought off on a West Coast trip after the All-Star break. Schilling talked to Johnny Padres, the Phillies pitching coach, one-time teammate of Drysdale, who talked for a long time, story after story, about the way Drysdale pitched. Schilling returned home. He put a poster of Don Drysdale up in his locker, and he lost only one game the rest of the regular season. Still 3-2 on Henderson. What a wonderful man to emulate. Don Drysdale.
Yeah, if I were a right-handed pitcher, I would want his poster up in my locker too. The winder.
You want to be the kind of pitcher he was and the kind of man that he was. Ball 4, up and away. So Henderson is aboard. It's only the second walk thrown by Schilling. The first since the first inning when he walked Alomar with 2 outs. Schilling has done a terrific job shutting down this record-setting Toronto attack through the first 4 games. The Jays had scored 37 runs in 35 innings. Tonight, Schilling has shut them out through 5 1/3. Henderson just 1 stolen base in the World Series. He's been thrown out once. Devon White, the tying run at the plate. He took a fastball for strike 1. 2-0 Philadelphia in the top of the 6th. And a loose ball came onto the field out near second base. Apparently thrown out of the outfield stand, retrieved by Mariano Duncan, who rolled it into the dugout. Very short lead by Henderson, and a nasty pitch by Schilling. Outside part of the plate, around the knees, 0-2 on Devon White.
This is in a perfect area to Devon White. Right there.
In the dirt and blocked by Dalton, keeping Henderson at first.
I don't think Darren realized he had the ball. A fine play by Dalton. Watch him turn the glove over and smother the ball. I think he thought he was going to drop it, but the ball kind of rolled back in his glove.
The 1-2 is low. After all the scoring last night, the Blue Jays have not had a runner reach second base tonight. Last pitch that was low to White, clocked at 93 miles per hour. The 2-2. Fouled off the leg of Dalton.
That is the third foul tip that Dalton has gotten tonight. Pat Borders banged up himself, blocking that splitter from Juan Guzman. And I think Darren is out to talk to Curt Schilling because his knee hurts right now.
If games 6 and 7 are necessary, they'd be played at Sky Dome in Toronto. First pitch Saturday for game 6 would be 8:12, and on Sunday it would be 8:29. We mentioned Jim Fregosi might have a change in his pitching plans if Terry Mulholland is used in relief tonight. Then Danny Jackson would be moved up to start game 6 if game 6 is necessary, and Mulholland would start game 7 if that ball game is necessary. Just missed, and the count is full.
So the 0-1 pitch catch the corner. This just misses the corner.
Henderson might be off with the 3-2 pitch. He is not, and White took ball 4. Dalton wanted to appeal. So far they haven't gone down to Paul Runge. Now they checked with him, and he says no swing. Well, after walking only 1 through the first 5 innings, Schilling has walked the speedsters Henderson and White back to back. The tying run at first, and the go-ahead run coming to the plate in the person of Roberto Alomar. And that has the crowd at Sky Dome wild with anticipation of what might be here in the 6th inning for the Blue Jays. Admission was free at Sky Dome tonight. They did ask for a charitable donation from those who went to the ballpark to watch the game on the Jumbotron in center field. To second, a double play ball if they hurry. Stocker turned it. 4-6-3, and that ends the inning. We'll return to Veterans Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
Bob, 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 Bob is back, he's back. Bob, he loves somebody like a cherry from some daddy wine. Bob is back, back, back on CBS.
Wednesday, John Ritter and Marky Post are moving their family back home to follow their dreams.
You can go home again.
Wake up call.
There's a serial killer running the gas station.
The dream.
You can go home again.
The wake up call.
I thought everyone around here was supposed to be happy.
They were when I left. Maybe you should leave again.
Hearts of Fire returns Wednesday. This is CBS.
Ever since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to fly, and when I got the opportunity to fly jets, I just had to go for it. I wanted to buy a fun car that kind of gave everyone else on the road an impression of my personality. And therefore, I was looking for something fun and sporty and sleek and looked like it could possibly take off if given the proper runway.
My years in football taught me the value of a great health plan. Hello, I'm Dick Vermeil. Everyday life has its bumps and bruises, too. And that's why Independence Blue Cross and Pennsylvania Blue Shield have added the new personal choice to our game plan.
There's no need to enroll with a primary care physician, and you don't need a referral to see a specialist. Office visits are covered, and there are no claim forms. Now, what could be easier?
Call 1-800-ASK-BLUE for all the benefits of personal choice. The health plan that controls cost, not people.
Every time Mercedes-Benz introduces a new car, other car companies rush to follow. And when Mercedes-Benz introduces a whole class of new cars, others scramble to catch up. Now Mercedes-Benz is introducing the new E-Class, featuring the powerful E420 V8. Other car companies may find this one even harder to follow.
The Phillies hanging tough. Team coverage tonight on the Channel 10 News.
Welcome back to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. I'm Jim Gray. The Phillies lead 2-0. I'm joined by Tony La Russa, who won the 1989 World Series with the Oakland A's and is the current manager. Do the Phillies have the type of team who can come back and win 3 games from the Blue Jays?
They probably have the perfect attitude for this because they're 1 game and out, and they're real competitive. They enjoy that role. So if any team can pull back from 3 and 1 down, it's the Phillies.
Next year, 3 divisions, realignment. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't mind actually our playoffs, but I hate the thought of baseball letting in a second-place team to October. You know, we've always said you got to win, you got to finish first in whatever your league or division to get to the postseason. I hate to see us change that.
Tony, thanks for joining us. Good luck next year with the A's. Let's go back upstairs to Sean and Tim.
And an interesting part of realignment next year is that the Phillies undoubtedly will not be the preseason favorites to win their division. They'll be in the East, but Atlanta joins the East, and you'd have to think with the wagon they have coming back that Atlanta will be favored.
So do the Montreal Expos join the Eastern Division of the National League, and those fine young players that the Expos have challenged the Phillies for the division title this year, but fell short.
Juan Guzman got Eisenreich to start the inning on a line drive to left. That's a line drive to right, handled by Carter. Milt Thompson is out number 2 in the 6th. And Guzman has retired 6 in a row. He hasn't allowed a hit since the 3rd. We're in the 6th, and the Phillies lead 2-0. They've out-hit the Blue Jays 4-2. The first 4 games, the highest scoring in World Series history. Game 5 has been a pitcher's duel between Guzman and Schilling. Devin Stocker working on a perfect night. He tried to punt and fouled it off. He ripped a double down the first base line to drive in a run in the 2nd. He walked in the 4th. There's Danny Jackson, who might start game 6, might start game 7. might not start again this year if the Blue Jays win tonight.
If Curt Schilling can pitch a complete game, it's 2 for the price of 1. He allows Mulholland to start Game 6 and Jackson to start Game 7.
Check swing. They appeal. Strike 3, says Paul Runge. That ends the inning. 1, 2, 3 go the Phils. And we go to the 7th. 2-0 Philadelphia.
When most manufacturers develop a new truck, they start with a model. Good idea. Here's ours. Introducing the first and only family of trucks designed from the inside out. A design that starts with you and has become the all-new Chevy S-Series. Everything else is history.
I lost my shoes, I broke my arm, and my socks didn't match. I was as sorry as your average chicken sandwich. And then I tried McDonald's new McGrilled Chicken Extra Value Meal. A marinated chicken breast with Monterey Jack, sweet red onions, and tangy herb dressing on a bakery roll, plus fries and a Coke. Well, my arm got better, my socks both matched, and I just found a Rembrandt in my garage.
Coincidence? We don't think so. Try the new McGrilled Chicken Sandwich Extra Value Meal. Further proof that what you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Murphy, that package you sent to Denver, it never got there.
Introducing tracking software from Federal Express.
It was picked up at 5:20 last night, and it was delivered at 9:42 a.m. and signed for by Kate Donovan. Shall I call her for you, sir?
Never mind. Now you can track packages right from your computer on your desk.
I'm here to play football for the Irish.
Siskel and Ebert give Rudy 2 thumbs up. More magic than Field of Dreams, one of the most inspiring films of our time. Rudy, rated PG. Now playing in select cities, starts Friday everywhere.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 5 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by the new Chevy S-Series line of trucks. McDonald's, what you want is what you get at McDonald's today. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And by American Airlines, something special in the air.
A look at Philadelphia, the 4th largest population center in the United States. Veterans Stadium in South Philly. That's the Spectrum on the left of your screen, the home of the Flyers and the 76ers. Here at the Vet, the 7th inning rolls around. Curt Schilling working on a 2-hit shutout through 6. He is performing extraordinarily well under incredible pressure again in the postseason. Two 2-0, the count on the leadoff hitter, Joe Carter. John Olerud is on deck. And then Paul Molitor. 2-1. Carter is flied to center and struck out. Down to third. Hollins had to back up. Long throw. Got him.
Hollins can afford to back up on plays like that and make the long throw because he has a strong throwing arm. The artificial surface requires a stronger throwing arm than natural grass. Third baseman can play more shallow on grass, and the grass slows down the ball. That's why they can play more shallow, but the ball gets to you in a hurry on the rug. And third basemen who are forced to play deep must have a strong arm, and Hollins does.
Now John Olerud. Some of you might have been wondering during the postseason why John Olerud wears a batting helmet when he's in the field. That goes back to January 11th of 1989, a day that John's dad, John Olerud Sr., the dermatologist, describes as the scariest day of his life. John Olerud had a seizure that day. His dad flew out to Washington State to accompany John Jr. to the hospital. John's dad thought he was going to die. He underwent 6 hours of surgery for an aneurysm at the base of his brain. And it wasn't all that long after that he was in the major leagues with the Toronto Blue Jays. At the suggestion of his dad, as a result of that brain aneurysm, he wears the batting helmet while he is in the field. Dr. Olerud himself was a fine baseball player, an All-American catcher at Washington State. Played several years in the minors. As a matter of fact, he said, I played in every league except the American and National. Foul tipped into the mitt, strike 3. 2 outs in the 7th. 5 strikeouts tonight for Curt Schilling.
You don't get Olerud to commit himself too quickly that often, but he just gets a piece of it on the check swing, and Dalton hangs on. 5 strikeouts for Schilling. Blue Jays have only been shut out once this year. That was on June 30th by Fernando Valenzuela.
They've been shut out through 6 2/3 by Schilling tonight. And the first pitch to Molitor was a strike. Chopped down the line, foul, and it's quickly 0-2 on Molitor, who is 0 for 2 tonight. Stirring in the Jays bullpen, and Danny Cox begins warming up. Chopped over the mound, charged by Stocker, and he couldn't play it. And Molitor, big turnaround first, but he'll hold there, not taking any chances with his team down 2-0 in the 7th inning. That should be scored a hit. I don't think if Stocker came up with it that he would have had a play.
Stocker tried to make the quick transfer. That's his only play. Bob Baylor, the first base coach, followed Molitor down the line past first base to remind him to make the turn, because all Molitor is thinking is to beat the play. But Molitor made the turn and wisely decided to stay at first base. Paul Molitor making the turn, and right to his right was Bob Baylor, who had a terrific career with the Toronto Blue Jays. As a matter of fact, he had .310 in 1977, and prior to this year, for an expansion team, that was the highest average ever. But Andres Galarraga led the National League in hitting this year. Galarraga with the Colorado Rockies.
Bob Baylor, one of the original Blue Jays. And many believe he'll be a fine major league manager someday. Tony Fernandez struck out and lined to left. He represents the tying run at the plate. 2-0 Philadelphia in the 7th. Molitor at first with 2 outs. Fernandez to center. Dykstra makes the catch. Fernandez is now 0 for 3. 7th inning stretch at the bat. 2-0 Phillies.
Rangers, Cherokees, Broncos, Explorers, Pathfinders, Blazers. Any pickup or 4x4, on road or off. Introducing the tough new LTX Light Truck Series from Michelin.
Yeah, this is nice. Like the seats. Lots of room, that's good. Whoa, lots of room back there, too. Right, smooth. Real smooth. They must have fixed this road.
Chevy, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. Even when it's just barely a road at all.
given us a new sense of self because we have our own identity.
I have a Citibank Visa card, and it does have my photo on it, so I have one less worry.
And not only that, but you can pick what you like. So it doesn't look like a DMV photo.
I don't know why the other credit cards aren't doing the same thing. We need a photo card. The family members can tell us apart.
Introducing the first credit card with your photo and signature on front from not just Visa, Citibank Visa.
When the doctor told me to come in right away, I was scared. This burning pain was real. Was eye relief when my doctor said Mylanta.
For heartburn, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Put your heart into it. Be tough. I am not going to pay a lot for this muffler. By George, I think he's got it.
Don't be bullied into paying a lot for a muffler. Now more than ever at Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot, but you'll get a lot.
I guarantee it.
Tonight, Bob Newhart
They don't speak English yet.
on Late Show with David Letterman.
I had a cousin, Eddie, who died of baseball fever.
Welcome back to Philadelphia, where the Phillies lead 2-0. As we go to the bottom of the 7th, Curt Schilling, the leadoff, against Juan Guzman, who pours over strike one. Schilling struck out and sacrificed. While we have a moment, we want to send along best wishes to two of the nicest people involved in the game of baseball. Curt Schilling with a base hit. He had only 11 hits during the regular season. He starts the 7th with an opposite field single.
Hit it off the end of the bat, but hits it hard enough to sneak it through on the right side.
Bobby Cox, the Atlanta manager, underwent knee replacement surgery on both knees today. He's expected to be hospitalized for a week, and we send our best to Bobby. And best wishes as well to Andy Musser, longtime Philadelphia Phillies broadcaster who underwent surgery for detached retina yesterday and is not here at the ballpark. And you can imagine how disappointing that is, given the Phillies are in the World Series for the first time in 10 years. He's a wonderful man. We send our best to both Bobby and Andy.
Andy watching the game in Wills Eye Hospital this evening.
Lenny Dykstra, the batter. This is the third time tonight that the Phillies have had the first man on, and the first time since the second inning. Dykstra wanted second base umpire Dave Phillips to move, and he did. Lenny has walked twice and fly to center. He scored back in the first. Ball one. 1-1. Well, there's already a Mr. October, so somebody's going to have to come up with a similar nickname for Lenny Dykstra. Phenomenal postseason success in his career. Out of play, couple of rows deep behind the Toronto dugout, and the count is 1-2. Just missed. A little bit blown away. 2-2 on Dykstra. Mariano Duncan is on deck. The hit by Schilling, just the 5th given up by Guzman. He's pitched very well. He had retired 7 in a row before the leadoff single by Schilling. One of the 2 runs scored by Philadelphia is unearned. And a good change of speeds that had Dykstra nodding his head as he struck out for the first out of the inning.
Speaking of strikeouts, that's what Mariano Duncan did his last at bat with the bases loaded and 2 outs. will take you through that trip. Slider away, a slider farther away. That was fouled off. A high slider misses, and then the finishing touch to Duncan. So slider, 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 and we'll see if Guzman continues that pattern.
That strikeout ended the fourth inning when the Phillies had loaded the bases on 3 walks by Guzman, who hasn't thrown a walk since. Schilling at first, 1 out, home half of the 7th. The Phillies lead 2-0. The Blue Jays lead the World Series 3-1. The 1-0. Big rip by Duncan. And it's possible that this is his last game in a Phillies uniform. If they happen to lose tonight, the Phillies front office would have a decision to make. Mariano Duncan, if the club picks up his contract option for next year, will make $2.2 million, or they can buy him out for $500,000. They have to let him know within 5 days of the end of the World Series.
I think that's a no-brainer. I think you sign Duncan, you pay him $2.2. He's a bargain at that. He had a terrific year. First year in his career that he hit more against right-handers than against left-handers. So he's proven that he's an everyday player this year. He prefers second base. And I think the Phillies will pick up the option to Duncan's contract. $2.2 million bargain.
Well, he did platoon most of the year at second base with Mickey Morandini.
Of course, he played a lot of shortstop, too. 49 games at shortstop. Phillies couldn't fill that plug until they got Kevin Stocker from the minors. Juan Bell played there. Mariano Duncan played there. Kim Batiste played some shortstop. They found the right guy when Kevin Stocker came up, and then they moved Duncan back to second.
Duncan hits the deck on the high fastball, clocked at 90 miles per hour.
This ball up and in to Duncan. High, hard one. We'll see if he goes away now with the slider.
He does, and it's bounced up the middle. Fernandez steps on the bag. Double play. On to the 8th at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The Phillies 2 and the Blue Jays nothing.
In order to make sure the interior of our new Chevy S Series would fit a wide range of people, I designed the seats.
And I designed the interior to give it more room than it's ever had before.
And both of us are very comfortable with that arrangement.
The 94 Chevy S Series. So new from the inside out. Everything else is history.
This place. It's the new Burger King Everyday Value Menu with big Flame World burgers for only 99 cents.
I can't do it myself for 99 cents.
Your favorite Burger King foods at new, lower everyday prices, like the croissant combo served hot and fresh for $1.99. Check your Burger King Everyday Value Menu and be sure to try the delicious Flame Broiled Whopper combo for $2.99.
That's great news for my pocketbook.
Value every day. Have it your way.
You're going to want to come back every day.
Hi, this has to be in L.A. tomorrow.
No problem, sir.
With express mail from the Postal Service, you're never left in the dark.
Yes, your package is in L.A. and will be delivered.
Morning.
From just $9.95, we track, we trace, we deliver for you.
Jell-O gelatin's just 12 cents a serving. That's 4 cents for the giggles, 4 cents for the improved motor skills, and 4 cents for creativity.
I know Jell-O.
Whatever your budget, there's always room for Jell-O.
New garage door opener, huh? What kind of batteries you got in here?
Duracell. That's what I use in everything.
Really? No kidding. Hey, any idea why Duracell batteries last so long?
I don't know why they even work, but I know they're good.
Duracell. No other battery lasts longer.
Yeah, but why?
This game summary is sponsored by Priority Mail.
The Phillies scored single runs in the first 2 innings, an unearned run in the first. Lenny Dykstra started the inning with a walk, stole second. Borders throw to second, went into center field. Dykstra took third and scored on a ground out by Kruk. Then 2 doubles by Dalton and Stocker led to a run in the second. Meanwhile, Kurt Schilling has shut out the Blue Jays on 3 hits through 7. And it is likely the end of the night for Juan Guzman, as he was scheduled to bat second here in the top of the 8th, and Rob Butler is in the on-deck circle to pinch hit. Schilling looking in at Pat Borders. As one of the 3 Toronto hits, a single in the 3rd. Game 7 starting pitcher is warming up for Toronto. Dave Stewart would start Game 6 if necessary. One and 2 now on Borders. Base hit. And the Blue Jays will bring the tying run to the plate with nobody out in the 8th inning. Borders is 2 for 3. And they cheer at Skydome as Willie Cagnate comes on as a pinch runner for Borders. And Rob Butler steps up to pinch hit. There's Cagnate.
Not only are they cheering at Skydome, they're cheering in Vancouver tonight also. I got a phone call about 20 minutes before the game from a fella who said that 200 buses are leaving tonight after the game, whether the Blue Jays win or lose, and they are making the trek cross country to Toronto. 200 buses, a big blue caravan, they're calling it. Folks, 200 buses.
Rob Butler, who appeared as a pinch hitter last night with a swing and a miss for strike 1. He became the first native Canadian to appear in a World Series game since Reggie Cleveland back in 1975 when he pitched for the Red Sox. Butler appeared in only 17 games during the regular season with Toronto. He was one of 6 players used in left field by the Blue Jays and missed some time due to an injured left hand. He was on the DL from June 23rd until September 1st. You're thinking about a game-tying home run, it's not very likely. Butler only hit 1 home run in 55 games this season at AAA Syracuse. Did not have a home run in his 17 games with the Jays. A ball and 2 strikes on Butler. And he fought it off to stay alive at 1 and 2. Nobody out. Cagnate, the pinch runner at first. In the top of the 8th, the Phillies lead 2-0. picked up. It will be close. Hollins to the rail, and it's 2 or 3 rows deep.
Sometimes you can tell how a batter holds the bat, how to pitch him. The one thing that Schilling doesn't want to do with a hitter like Butler is throw off-speed pitches to him, overpower him. You try to overpower the smaller guys, especially when you're 6'3", 215, and still throwing in the upper 80s. Butler just trying to make contact right here with the count 1-2.
He reached on a fielder's choice and scored last night. It is only at bat, and there's a base hit. Cañate streaking toward third, and he'll get there as the throw is cut off. And the Toronto Blue Jays have the tying run at first base with nobody out in the 8th inning.
Just go ahead and smile, Rob. He wanted to. He wanted to break out in laughter as he gets around on this inside fastball and rolls it through the infield. Cañate, good base running, going to third on this ball. Eisenreich's throw is cut off, and the Blue Jays with the threat here in the 8th inning. And remember, it was the 8th inning of last night's game when Toronto, trailing 14-9, scored 6 times to win it 15-14.
So they're hoping for another crazy 8th. No action in the bullpen. Rob Butler, the first native of the city of Toronto to play for the Blue Jays, with a huge hit off the bench here in the 8th. And now Ricky Henderson. 0 for 2 with a walk his last time up. Ricky says since he went to the lotion given to him by Betty, and that's all that he knew her as, Betty from the Sky Dome Hotel, his hand has felt better, his right hand. He said a tip from Cito Gaston helped him generate more bat speed. Cito said if your right hand hurts, pull the bat through the strike zone a bit more fervently with your left hand. And Ricky has been able to generate more bat speed the last couple of days that way.
That's the thing you got to love about Pat Borders. He's out of the game, still has his shin guards on. The pinch ran for him. He went back, turned his cap around, put his shin guards back on.
Well, there might be a very physical celebration in the Blue Jay dugout if Henderson gets a hit. Schilling might be tiring. He's down in the mid-80s now on our gun down below. That pitch was 86. Earlier he was in the low to mid-90s. And still no action in the Philadelphia bullpen. Schilling has thrown 118 pitches. His 2-1 to Henderson is fouled back to the backstop. Devon White is on deck.
I think what Jim Fregosi is saying, that unless the Blue Jays take the lead, Kurt, it's up to you. It's all yours.
Runners at first and third. Cañate, the runner at third, is just the second Blue Jay to reach scoring position. He's the first Toronto runner to get to third. The 2-2 to Henderson. He fought it off. Games 3 and 4. The last 2 games in this series. The Blue Jays combined to go 14 for 30 with runners in scoring position. They're only 0 for 1 tonight. Another 2-2. Popped up and drifting into the crowd. It was a warm and humid day in Philadelphia. It got up into the low 70s. In the last few minutes it is noticeably cooler, and the breeze has picked up. The flags indicate that it's blowing out toward right. Another 2-2. Off the glove of Schilling. He'll try the plate. Cagnate in the rundown. Dalton. Now Hollins applies the tag. Cagnate is out, and Butler did not move to third. So it's first and second for Toronto, and now one out in the 8th inning.
Well, you're not going to find a rookie as aggressive as an older player. Butler's going to be a safety first base runner, and really Dalton gives him no chance. The play off the glove of Schilling, the throw to Dalton, and watch how Dalton runs Cagnate back to third. That's what catchers are trained to do. That freezes Butler at second base. Hollins runs him down, and he gets to him quickly and prevents Butler from coming over to third base. Nice play by Schilling. Fortunately for the Phillies, the ball lands right behind him. And then Dalton running him back hard. You could see Dalton looking at the runner at second base when he came out of the chute. Unusually executed by the Phillies, because you want to get him running back toward third, the base from which he came, instead of toward home. But they got the job done.
Tying run at first, go-ahead run at the plate, and interesting that in what is now almost a closing situation, that it's not Mitch Williams but Terry Mulholland who is warming up. Devon White 0 for 2 with a walk his last time up. Takes strike one right down the middle. Coming into tonight's game, Lenny Dykstra and Devon White were the only players on these two teams who had hit safely in all 10 of their teams' games in this postseason. Dykstra does not have a hit tonight, nor does White. Strike two. Most of the fans are on their feet. The 0-2 pitch. And White fought it off. He had the game-winning triple to drive in the final 2 runs of the 6-run 8th inning last night.
I can imagine that Jim Fregosi had a mental grimace when Schilling threw that 0-2 fastball in the strike zone.
Schilling appeared to reach back for something on it. That one was 94. And that's dribbled foul down to Bob Baylor in the first base coach's box.
Jim Fregosi telling us before the World Series started that pitchers get too anxious to get hitters out. What's the hurry, says Jim. If it's 0-2, you have 4 shots at him. Why throw a strike? Make him reach.
The 0-2. He struck him out.
Looked like a slider off the plate. And White bites.
And Schilling, who has shown tremendous grit and determination throughout the postseason, is trying to gut his way through the 8th inning. As the pitches pile up, first and second and 2 outs. Alomar looked at ball 1 low. Butler, the runner at second. Henderson at first. 2-0 Philadelphia in the 8th inning. Alomar walked in the first, singled in the fourth, bounced into a 4-6-3 double play in the 6th. One of 3 double plays turned by the Phillies tonight. A ball and a strike on Alomar.
Schilling continues to hit the spots.
They had first and third and nobody out. Schilling one strike away from getting out of it. And his fastball missed outside, 2-2. Out of play, still 2-2. Should Alomar reach, Joe Carter would bat next. Schilling has thrown 132 pitches tonight.
Twice as many strikes as balls.
And he has thrown 26 pitches here in the 8th.
No, but he's still throwing the ball hard. I think that's what Fregosi and Johnny Podgers are looking at right now. I think Mulholland's warming up for Olerud in case he hits this inning.
Another 2-2. Slapped into foul territory in left. And Alomar is checking to see if he broke the bet. Out of play again.
The dangerous thing to consider for the Philadelphia Phillies that the tying run is Ricky Henderson at first base. 2 strikes, 2 outs. The runner runs with the crack of the bat. So on a short double, long single, Henderson could score, and I'm sure that the outfielders are thinking about Ricky Henderson right now.
Another 2-2. And another foul ball in left. The Phillies lead 2-0. Curt Schilling is working on a 5-hit shutout in Game 5 of the World Series. We're in the 8th inning. The Blue Jays have 2 men on with 2 outs. The tying run at first. The go-ahead run at the plate. The next pitch will be the 30th of the 8th inning for Schilling. On the ground to second. Duncan throws him out. The Blue Jays leave 2 men on. They've stranded 6. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 2-0 Philadelphia.
Fred's my AT&T sales rep.
The country gives me the creeps, but I came out here to tell Jan about AT&T's Maximum Advantage.
Everything about it is simple, except running it.
Maximum Advantage doesn't work for you. You're automatically enrolled. You get AT&T's best service at our lowest price guaranteed. We'll look at your calling patterns quarterly and make new recommendations. Jan, with our international fax and calling plans for our 800 service, you could be hosting the whole world that you're in.
Hi.
We're the Raskins.
Ah, welcome.
Fred really knows my business. I'm sure I could get him up here full time.
Start saving $300 a month when you're 23, and you could retire a millionaire. Start at 30, and you might reach $600,000. At 40, about $200,000. Which is why you need Prudential's Financial Assessment Program. A personalized computer analysis of where you are, where you want to go, and how we can help. Because nobody plans to fail. They just failed to plan. Call Prudential Insurance now.
Ever wonder why a hamburger costs $10 in Tokyo? Or why a cab to the airport there runs about $120? Or why their luxury cars seem so expensive, especially when compared to the Oldsmobile 88 Special Edition, which, even with air, automatic, cruise, tilt, anti-lock brakes, and dual airbags, cost just $19,995? It's your money.
I don't say this to many people, but the job we do is the most important job I can think of.
Okay, guys, listen up.
I mean, there's no such thing as a B-plus mechanic on this airline.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Even the most junior mechanic can keep an airplane in this hangar if there's a hint of a problem. You might think a job like this would become routine, but every now and then, I just take a walk through the terminal, and right there, you see what's important.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the expressed written consent of Major League Baseball. Curt Schilling has had a terrific postseason, and he never pitched under more pressure in a game than he is under tonight. He has shut out the Blue Jays through 8 on 136 pitches. 5 hits allowed by Schilling. He has struck out 6. He's walked 3. No Phillies pitcher has ever thrown a complete game shutout in postseason play. And the new pitcher for Toronto as we go to the bottom of the 8th is Danny Cox. He's making his second appearance in this World Series. And the new catcher is Randy Knorr. Añate ran for Pat Borders. It's an all-new battery. Knorr behind the plate, Cox on the mound, and John Kruk the batter with a count of 1-0. And a big swing and a miss. 1 for 3 is Kruk. He picked up an RBI with a ground out in the first and singled in the third. Cox pitched in game 3, the first game played here at the Vet. He pitched 2 innings and allowed 3 hits and a run. He walked 2 and struck out 2. He's a former Philly. 1-2 the count on Kruk.
It's amazing how the game can take you from the wild excitement of last night's game, 29 runs scored, to the calm fantasy ride cruise of tonight's game. 27 runs fewer than last night.
And you got varying opinions about how to term last night's game. Some said it wasn't a great game because it was so poorly pitched and was sloppy in spots. Some said it was one of the greatest games in World Series history. I think this is a game that every fan can appreciate tonight. It's been well played for the most part, and certainly very well pitched. Cox with a leadoff walk to Kruk. Guzman pitched the first 7. He allowed 2 runs, only 1 of them earned on 5 hits. He walked 4. 1 of those was an intentional walk, and Guzman struck out 6, including Dave Hollins once. Hollins 1 for 3, a single to right in the third. Ball 1, up and away. The Phillies trying to build on a 2-0 lead in the 8th. Toronto has the middle third of its order coming up in the 9th. Joe Carter, John Olerud, and Paul Molitor. The count on Hollins.
When pitchers are behind in the count, they're inclined to throw the fastball away from the hitter. When they're ahead in the count, that's when they jam them.
in danger of walking the first 2 men in the 8th inning.
Guy like Dave Hollins, pitchers try to pitch him inside, but once he gets ahead in the count, that's what he looks for. He zeroes in that little imaginary box and looks for the ball in it and tries to buggy whip it. Be interesting to see if he is swinging here.
He was not, and he took a strike. Three balls and 1 strike on Hollins. Darren Daulton is on deck. Cox, a 34-year-old veteran, to the plate with ball 4. It scoots by Knorr. Nearly went into the Philadelphia dugout. Kruk around second before putting the brakes on. And he's still hobbling. That's back-to-back walks to open the 8th by Danny Cox.
Ball gets away from Randy Knorr, but with John Kruk running, really no damage done to the Blue Jays. You could see Randy Knorr going after that ball the wrong way. Usually a ball in the dirt, a catcher tries to block with his body. You forget about catching it with your glove. But Kruk had to stop at second base as Galen Cisco is now out to talk to Danny Cox and Randy Knorr. Mark Eichhorn is warming up, and if you're thinking double play, Darren Daulton hit into only 2 double plays this year in 136 double play situations.
And if you're thinking about a sacrifice bunt, he didn't lay one down all year. He hasn't had one since 1991. In fact, his last sacrifice bunt on April 27th of 91. Jim Fregosi said all along that he would continue to manage in the postseason as he did in the regular season, do all the things that got his team to this point. And he's stayed true to his word for the most part. One for 3 tonight is Darren Daulton. He doubled to left center and scored in the 2nd inning. That was the last run scored in this ball game.
I think the only way that Jim would get away from that thinking is in a save situation. I think tonight he goes to Mulholland and not to Mitch Williams.
Borderline strike to the knees. Daulton surprised by the call. Sometimes, as we said, it's a late surprise when Tim McClellan is the home plate umpire, because he waits till he comes up out of his stance before giving the call.
You could see Darren asking Tim, wasn't too low, wasn't the ball low?
1-2 now. If you're wondering, the bullpen phones are working tonight. Any reason to believe it was the bullpen pitchers who broke the phones last night, didn't want to answer the call and come into that slugfest. Cito Gaston told us the walkie-talkies the teams were issued didn't work either.
Tell you, in a game where the phones were broken last night, there were a few guys dialing long distance. They were punching 8 on their bats.
Cito appreciated that the umpires allowed him to send Eichhorn back to the bullpen, bring Castillo in. Eichhorn ran in as a result of the miscommunication. The bullpen phone wasn't working. And he also said that Jim Fregosi was a very good sport for not protesting. He understood the situation. It's Dr. Phil Marone, the Phillies team doctor, in the background. With 2-2 to Daulton. He struck him out. On a pitch low and out of the strike zone. That's the first out of the inning. 2 walks to start the inning by Cox, and then a big strikeout of Daulton.
Looked like a split finger fastball that really went down, and Daulton goes for it, swinging over the top.
Jim Eisenreich 0 for 3 tonight. He lined to left his last time up. And despite his .200 average, he has driven in 6 runs in this series, tying him with Milt Thompson for the team high.
3 of those with 1 swing in Toronto in Game 2.
Neither team has excelled with runners in scoring position tonight. The biggest reason why it's only 2-0 Philadelphia in the bottom of the 8th. Cox missed below. It gets away from Knorr. The runners don't try to move up.
We've talked about John Kruk and the sore knees and sore lower back. So you do not have a lot of speed down at second base. Nothing Kurt Schilling would like more than another run or 2.
Amazing that Schilling has looked so poised in the postseason when he's been on the mound, because when we've seen him in the dugout, it is obvious that it has been an agonizing experience for him.
Dugouts do that to you. It's like the waiting room.
Good breaking ball by Cox. 1-2. Cox has pitched for St. Louis, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Toronto. He was part of the Pirates team that lost to Atlanta in the National League Championship Series last year. Eisenreich, that is strike 3. He can't run with first base occupied. So back-to-back strikeouts for Cox after the 2 walks in a row to open the inning.
That was the same pitch on which he got Darren Dalton, that splitter in the dirt. And Eisenreich commits. Nice play by Knorr to prevent the ball from getting behind.
Now Milt Thompson, who sends one into the crowd behind home plate. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. The runner at second is John Kruk. At first, Dave Hollins. 2 outs, 8th inning, 2-0 Phillies. 2 runs on 5 hits and 1 error for Philadelphia. No runs, 5 hits, and 1 error for Toronto. A ball and a strike. Cox has battled back numerous arm troubles to pitch in the World Series. He was on the disabled list in '86, '87, '88, the entire '89 season. On the DL again in 1990 and 1991. Henderson in a foul ground, and it's in the first 2 rows in left. Tuned in late, you missed all the scoring in the ball game to this point. In the first, Lenny Dykstra scored an unearned run. He walked, stole second, took third on an error by Pat Borders, scored on a ground out by John Kruk. Then in the second, Darren Dalton led off with a double, moved up to third on a ground out, and scored on a double by Kevin Stocker. And that's all the scoring. 2-0 Phils. 1-2 on Thompson. Time called by Tim McClellan. To the mound. Cox kept looking back at John Kruk. This was Danny's first year in the American League, and it was a highly successful season, particularly early in the year when some of the other members of the bullpen were faltering. Cox was a pleasant surprise and took on a much more prominent role. He struck him out. So after walking the first 2 men in the inning, Cox strikes out the side. We go to the 9th. Last call for the Blue Jays. Carter, Olerud, and Molitor coming up.
They say good pitching beats good hitting any day. The Achieva Special Edition by Oldsmobile. Check out this slow curve. How about a backdoor slider? Here comes one all loaded up. Yeah, and here comes the money pitch. It's your call.
When the doctor told me to come in right away, I was scared. This burning pain was real. Was eye relief from my doctor said Mylanta.
For heartburn, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
He's a cop from the 90s who just woke up in the 21st century.
I've been dreaming about killing you for 40 years.
She's his new partner.
What I wouldn't give for some action.
With all the right moves. I'm impressed. And all the wrong phrases.
You take this job, you can shovel it.
Close enough.
Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man, rated R. Now playing.
You need two hands to count all the special rates and discounts on Allstate car insurance. For more than one car, pickup trucks, anti-lock brakes, airbags. Good drivers, excellent drivers with Allstate home insurance. And retired drivers over 55. Just pick up a phone and call an Allstate agent for details. For lots of ways to save, you're in good hands with Allstate.
This is hydroplaning in less than an inch of water, and they're being pulled by Goodyear all-season AquaTread radials. AquaTread's deep groove design channels water away as you drive for outstanding traction. Hydroplaning, AquaTreading. Think about it.
Emmy winners Tom Skerritt and Kathy Baker return in the Emmy-winning Best Dramatic Series. CBS invites you to experience television's best, Picket Fences, tomorrow.
Anheuser-Busch's aerial ambassador, the Bud 1 airship, is filled with more than 235,000 cubic feet of helium. The Bud 1 is piloted by Captains Mike Hansen and Russ Adams with help from Crew Chief Jay Harris. We appreciate their efforts tonight. First pitch of the ninth inning, a ball by Curt Schilling, and now ball 2 to Joe Carter. Kim Batiste has come in to replace Dave Hollins at third. And in this postseason, when he has come in, the ball has managed to find him. Carter with the count 1-1, pardon me. The first pitch was a strike, fouled it back to the screen, and now it's 1-2. John Olerud is on deck, and then Paul Molitor. There is no action in the bullpen as the ninth inning begins. The 1-2 to Carter. Fly ball, shallow right. Duncan out. Eisenreich in. Duncan makes the catch. A long way out into right field. And Carter is 0 for 4.
You can see Duncan smiling there because he got into his back pedal a little too quickly. He thought he was backpedaling prematurely, and then he finally turned to his left and caught it rather easily.
Now Olerud 0 for 3 tonight. He swung at the first pitch and sliced it off to the left. The Phillies lead 2-0. To short. Stalker throws him out. And the Phillies are 1 out away from sending this series back to Toronto for Game 6. Blue Jays have only been shut out once in their history in the postseason by Danny Jackson, then with Kansas City in Game 5 of the '85 American League Championship Series. Paul Molitor trying to keep Toronto alive in this one. He's 1 for 3, and infield hit his last time up.
Blue Jays have also won 7 straight road games in postseason play. That includes the 2 games at Atlanta last year and also includes the clincher, Game 6 in Atlanta.
Molitor taking all the way on 2-0, and it's 2-1. Schilling trying to put the finishing touches on the first ever complete game shutout by a Phillies pitcher in postseason play. Line to center. Dykstra is there, and the Phillies win. A brilliant 5-hit shutout for Curt Schilling. Pitches, a 5-hitter for Schilling. We're back right after this.
Owens Corning presents an exciting debut, Pink Plus, a new insulation that's silky to the touch. The reason? Pink Plus is our famous pink fiberglass insulation wrapped in smooth pink poly, which also makes it extra easy to install. So get in touch with a premier insulation. For the Pink Plus dealer nearest you, call 1-800-GET-PINK.
At Radio Shack, we've always made the latest technology easy to understand for your family. And now our CD-ROM computers make it easy to bring entire libraries to life. Experience the power of Tandy multimedia computers. Only at Radio Shack.
Laura Glenn is being dragged down by a tough cold. But she's about to break free with an effervescent rush of relief. Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. Pills take time to dissolve, but Alka-Seltzer Plus is ready the moment you take it, rushing powerful medicines to soothe your aches, relieve your runny nose, free your breathing. Nothing rushes relief like Alka-Seltzer Plus.
Cellular One has set up state-of-the-art cellular service that reaches clear across America. Beautiful, isn't it?
CBS sports coverage of Game 5 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Oldsmobile. AT&T, we help put your world within reach. Goodyear, #1 in tires. And by the Prudential, plan for retirement. Call Prudential Insurance now.
The Toronto Blue Jays now lead the World Series 3-2 following tonight's 2-0 victory for Philadelphia in only 2 hours and 53 minutes, the shortest game of the series to date. The Chevrolet player of the game will give you one guess. That's right, Curt Schilling. A 5-hit shutout. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in his name to the Special Olympics. What a gutsy performer he has been in the postseason. And here's Jim Gray.
Well, you're exactly right about that, Sean. Curt, how was it that you were able to shut out a team that scored 15 runs last night?
Defense. We played a great solid game in the field today. The fans were outstanding. You know, getting up on their feet every time we needed a big out, and we made the plays when we had to make them tonight.
You were just telling me, and I can't believe it, but you're going to be available to pitch again this weekend?
I'll be able to throw relief on Sunday, hopefully. You know, Game 7 is for all the marbles.
All right, Curt, congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Terrific performance, Sean.
Indeed it was, and as you could tell, the crowd here at Veterans Stadium was hearing that interview over the PA system. We'll have more in just a moment.
Bob is back. Bob is back. He's back.
Oh, my
back hurts and I had a game this afternoon, so I'm taking Advil.
More doctors recommend Advil by name to relieve backaches than any other brand.
With Advil, a sore back won't keep me from swinging.
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
My dandruff and itch are awful. I'll try anything. Denorex tingles. Head and Shoulders doesn't.
Both have effective dandruff medicine, but Denorex has something extra that tingles.
That's why I started using Denorex. No flakes, no itch.
Denorex, the serious dandruff shampoo.
Another day is drawing to a close, and all kinds of people all over the country are heading home for dinner. And no matter who they are, or what they do, or where they make their homes, chances are their favorite dinners have at least one thing in common. Beef. It's what's for dinner.
Look, a rainbow! Where? Over there! Oh, there! Don't you see it? I can, through my Panasonic Palm Quarter color viewfinder.
Where?
I hardly noticed it through my black and white viewfinder, but I'm sure I got it on tape.
Great, let's go see. Do your camcorder tapes play in a VHS recorder?
No.
Oh, well, my palm quarter tapes will.
Oh.
Why didn't you just get a palm quarter?
I don't know.
The choice is obvious. The Panasonic Palm Quarter. Its tapes will play in your VCR.
Are you ready for my National Football Quiz? Well, here's the kind of question that you should be studying up for. Which field goal kicker was known as the Toe?
I know who that is. That's,
The right answer and the rest of my quiz Sunday on the NFL Today.
2-0 the final tonight in favor of Philadelphia. Let's rejoin Jim Gray.
All right, we're with Jim Fregosi, the Phillies manager. Jim, how were you able to manage to get this team back in order after what happened last night?
Well, you know, we played a lot of games like last night's game. This club is a tough club. They go about it in a professional manner. And as Darren Dalton said earlier today, he says he wants to go to Toronto tomorrow to work out. He says it's the only time he's ever wanted to work out in his life.
Tell us about your pitching rotation for this weekend.
Well, I got Mulholland up, but it's his time to throw. Mulholland will pitch on Saturday, and Danny Jackson will pitch on Sunday.
Good luck, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Let's go back upstairs to Sean and Timmy.
And interesting to hear both Kurt Schilling and Jim Fregosi talk about Game 7 as if it is a foregone conclusion. We'll have more in just a moment.
How can IBM help you these days? Ask Santa Fe Railway.
Our growth is built on meeting customer expectations. IBM helped re-engineer our systems to make it happen.
Ask Dixon Ticonderoga.
For disaster recovery services, you need to pick someone you can count on. IBM was the obvious choice.
Ask Nintendo.
IBM helped automate our warehouse. We just shipped 1 million new games in one weekend, our most successful launch ever.
You want fast results? Talk to us. There's never been a better time to do business with IBM.
You've got to attack the courses. You've got to master the machinery. You've got to use all your resources.
It's not really that difficult to earn the name Goodwrench.
All it takes is all you've got.
Goodwrench, raising the standards of performance on the track and in your GM dealership.
Will we claim the new Norelco razor shaves closer than ever without hundreds of tests to back it up? Say our new precision groove helps the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer without proof? No. We wouldn't say it's our closest shave ever without science, sensors, tests. But of all the tests that prove it's closer, the most convincing requires a personal touch. The new Norelco razors, our closest shave ever.
I don't think there's any family who wants to have to go to somebody else to feed their children. Hunger exists in every community. Hunger really cuts across every segment of society. We know what the answer is, and the answer is to feed people. It's going to take a lot to solve hunger in this country.
We're grateful for American Express card member support and helping to provide a meal every time they use the card.
You can help. Use the American Express card to join the Charge Against Hunger till December 31st.
Tonight on Late Show with David Letterman, Dave's guests are Bob Newhart, the musical group Guru, and Chloe Dysecker, a 5-year-old snake expert, plus 1 or 2 other surprises. That's tonight on Late Show with David Letterman. Now for Tim McCarver, Pat O'Brien and Jim Gray, Sean McDonough saying so long from Veterans Stadium. The final score, Philadelphia 2 and Toronto nothing. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the 1993 World Series. Good night from Philadelphia.
Keep the ball rolling, keep the ball rolling. Girl, the name of the game is love. On your mark, get set, let the kissing and start, and just keep the ball rolling, baby, right into my heart. How can you ask me?
Cellular One has set up state-of-the-art cellular service that reaches clear across America. Beautiful, isn't it?
Here's the Eagle Vision TSI. I'd like to tell you all about it, but I won't. You in this very unique sports sedan, just go ahead and have some quiet time together.
Test drive a new Eagle Vision at your nearest Key States Jeep and Eagle dealer today.
These two women want to help change Camden County government. Annette Deegan, a teacher and educator. Aletha Wright, a leader in the reform effort to get people off welfare into jobs. They want to make our streets safe, ban assault weapons, and support mandatory sentences for violent criminals. And they want to end welfare as we know it by moving people off welfare, retraining them, and requiring them to work. Aletha Wright, Annette Deegan, Reform Democrats for Camden County Freeholder.
They don't speak English yet.
On Late Show with David Letterman.
I had a cousin, Eddie, who died of baseball fever.
They come from China, from Thailand, from England, Germany, France, and Australia. Every day, people from 33 countries across 5 continents come together in the friendly skies. United. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
When you look for champions, you look to CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
The 94 Ford Ranger is now at your Quality Plus Ford dealer.
No other truck is built for tough.
Now choose from 9 exciting Ranger models, including the newest, a Ranger Splash Super Cab 4x4. Plus, every Ranger now comes with a 24-hour roadside assistance program and is backed by a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. Now save $1,800, including $300 cash back from Ford. See the Truck Authority, your Quality Plus Ford dealer today.
You better hit the ground running in a new Ford truck. Hey, hey.
A year ago, AT&T Special Country Savings was born. Now to celebrate its first birthday, we're giving you even more savings on international calls. Double the savings on Saturdays in October and November. And not just to 1 or 2 numbers, but to everyone you want to call in the international country of your choice. 30% off with AT&T. Call now to sign up and enjoy a birthday gift from us to your favorite country.
Seen the price of a good suit lately? Give me a break. So I went to Today's Man, and I got a break on pure wool traditional and European designer suits. $250 anywhere else, now $149 each. My choice. The traditional suit's got soft shoulder styling, tailored in pure wool. The European suit has that great double-breasted look. All wool, lots of style. So I said, give yourself a break. At $149 each, buy 2. Traditional or European designer, just $149 right now at Today's Man.
WCAU-TV Philadelphia. Now, Ken Matz, Jane Robelo, Herb Clark Weather, and Ron Berg Sports. This is Channel 10 News.
Not as wild as last night, but just as exciting and with a much better outcome. We're happy that you're able to share it with us right here on Channel 10. Good evening. I'm Jane Robelo.
And I'm Ken Matz, and we'd like to welcome those of you who usually aren't a part of our Channel 10 News at 11. We're thrilled that you're with us tonight.
Our obvious top story tonight, the Phillies still alive in the World Series. The final score tonight, Phillies 2, Blue Jays 0. And here's the game-winning run. In the first inning, John Kruk grounds it out to first, scoring Lenny Dykstra from third, giving the Phils a 1-0 lead. The Phils scored another run in the second when Kevin Stalker doubles in Darren Dalton, making it 2-0. And the real hero may have been Curt Schilling. Curt tosses a complete game shutout over the same Blue Jays team that just last night scored 15 runs. Phils hold on and now trail the Jays 3-2 in a best-of-7 series.
So the Phils have lived to see another day. The series continues Saturday night when the Phils and the Jays go at it in Game 6 in the Sky Dome in Toronto. See every exciting pitch right here on Channel 10 beginning at 8 o'clock. And for Phillies fans, another night of nail-biting. Yes, it's true. But this time the Phils come out on top, and there's really something to cheer about tonight.
Let's go live outside the vet right now on Channel 10's Arthur Fennell. Art?
Hey, talk about pandemonium. You know, last night we were out here. We couldn't get anyone hardly to talk to us. They were so disappointed. Tonight, I got them sacked 20 miles deep. They came rushing out and said, hey, we want to sing the praises of the Phillies. I want you to meet a couple of people right now. You came in from South Jersey. What did you think about the game?
Oh, it was great, great. Schilling pitched a great game. Unbelievable. After last night, wonderful.
What did you think?
Hey, we came here to see Phillies baseball, and that's what we got tonight,
I want you to see this little fella right here. Hang on with me. If you can read his sign, read your sign for us on TV.
Go Phillies, I hope you win. You're the best 1993 world champs. Yo, win, win, win. Go Blue Jays.
I like the win, win, win part. It's been incredible. They know they can win this thing. They haven't given up. And if we don't all get killed tonight, we'll live to fight another day. Let's get out of here while we still can. Back to you guys.
Protect that little fan with you, Arthur. Thanks. Isn't that fun? Well, it wasn't just the 62,000 fans at the vet who were enjoying the game. Tens of thousands of you watched tonight right here on Channel 10.
And Channel 10's Dennis Waltering is with some event tonight in Roxborough. And how are you tonight, Dennis?
I'll tell you what, Ken and Jane, when the Phillies scored victory in the vet, pandemonium broke out at Fanatics here in Roxborough. Earlier tonight in Mount Airy, fans were cautiously optimistic when the Phillies took the lead early in the game and held on to it.
At the Casablanca Room in Mount Airy, fans celebrated as the Phillies took the lead early and held on through the game.
They're going to take the game here tonight. They're going to take the next two in Toronto.
You think they can do that?
Oh, I know they can do that. They're from Philadelphia, like me. Yay, Philly! Looks pretty good. Schilling, they should have had Schilling in there a long time ago. He's doing pretty good.
Some fans here were still treating the pain of last night's heartbreaking loss.
It was very painful. I mean, you only live once, you know what I mean? This only comes around maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, 2 or 3 times in a lifetime.
At Fanatics here in Roxborough, fans were going nuts over the Phillies tonight. Tonight's success suddenly making the Phils look invincible again.
Tonight. The Phillies and Roxborough, the best in the world.
John Kruk, baby. I had the goatee when he had it. He went to the full beard. I had to do it. Got the long hair. Back just like him. Phillies #1.
Now, last night, after that heartbreaking, devastating loss, a lot of fans were nervous about the Phils. Could they go all the way? The question is, can they go all the way with this series? I think that's the answer. They think they can win this thing in Toronto. Live in Roxborough, Dennis Waltering, Channel 10 News. Gang, Ken, back to you.
Thanks, Dennis. I love that John Kruk lookalike showing us his stomach, too. That
there
was
he goes.
Great. Yeah.
Well, it was a big night for Phillies fans and a big night for the working man's team as well.
Their backs against the wall tonight, and Channel 10's Ron Burke is live at the vet with a look at just how the Phils responded. Real heroes, Ron.
Hey, I'll tell you, this baseball is such a strange game. Quite a contrast from what happened here last night. 29 runs scored last night, only 2 tonight, and Curt Schilling goes the distance for the shutout. And in games like this, low-scoring games, plays that normally seem like just run-of-the-mill average plays, figure big. Let's take a look at a couple of plays that ordinarily wouldn't be game breakers, but did figure big in tonight's game. Pick it up with Dykstra getting the steal, and the ball goes into the outfield. Dykstra goes to third. He later scored on a ground out. It turned out to be the winning run as the Phillies took a 1-0 lead. Then later, Joe Carter strikes out on this pitch. Roberto Alomar caught stealing. And just like that, the Phillies win it, 2-0 in the end. And after the game, Jim Fregosi praised the starter, Curt Schilling, who went the distance for the win.
Well, Curt has a knack of, he loves to finish what he starts. He got in the groove. I thought that he overanalyzed his first start of the series. And he was trying to go to spots too much instead of throwing the ball. Tonight he went out there and he threw the ball like he can. He had good stuff, and he kept his stuff for the whole night.
Now, as Schilling and catcher Darren Dalton both descended the dugout steps en route to the clubhouse moments ago, the fans were yelling at them, and they both held up 2 fingers, meaning 2 more victories to go for the Phillies, who still had their sights set on the 1993 World Series championship. It'll happen in Toronto, not here in Philadelphia, but their sights are still set. They are focused, and they now go up north with some big dreams and big hopes. Reporting live from the vet, this is Ron Burke. Ken and Jane, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
Okay.
What a great series. And there's more coverage on Channel 10 of tonight's game coming up later in this newscast. We'll go back live to the vet, Ron Burke, with Big Al Meltzer. More highlights and player interviews. Also ahead, Andrew Glassman with a story guaranteed to make every Philly fan smile. And it's a definite VCR alert coming up later on the Channel 10 News.
You know, there were many special moments in tonight's World Series game, but right up front with the hopes and dreams of the players and fans was the night of nights for Philadelphia police officer John Marinowitz, whose assignment was helping out on that first pitch. John Marinowitz, a Philadelphia police officer and longtime Phillies fan. He suffered a gunshot wound to his head in June while on duty. His partner was killed. So recovery has been long and painful. But tonight, he mustered the courage and energy to hand that first ball to old-timer Robin Roberts, who tossed it in for him.
I talked to the front office about getting him to throw out the first ball next year where he could walk out there. I think this is much more gratifying for him in a World Series, and deservedly so.
Larry Anderson, the Phillies reliever, had been at John's bedside often, and frankly, the Phillies have been part of his recovery. Listen to his doctor.
One of the very few things that John remembers in the ICU is the support of his wife and watching Mitch Williams through the summer get himself into jams.
Yeah, the wild thing got John Marinowitz's heart going, just like the rest of us. And now his fellow police officers are proud that he's getting his day and that the whole nation will be part of it.
Philadelphia's heroes are not only the men that are on the baseball field and on the football field, but there are other heroes in Philadelphia, and that here we are telling the nation, yeah, this is one of our heroes and we want you to know about him.
Although not yet granting personal interviews, doctors say 2 to 3 months more and John Marinowitz will be out of the hospital and back home. We look forward to hearing his story then.
We certainly wish him continued success. That's a beautiful story. And there's a lot more ahead tonight on the Channel 10 News, including the latest from Haiti, where American ships have fired their first warning shots.
And a key figure in the tailhook scandal is off the hook.
Stay with us as the Channel 10 News continues tonight.
It began with a single shoe store and a commitment to customer satisfaction unique in retailing. Today, that philosophy has spawned 72 stores across America. And even at a time when retail sales were dismal, Nordstrom climbed to a record $3 billion. Where do you find companies that are selling at a time when nobody's buying? Actually, there's a list of them printed every day. NASDAQ, the stock market, for the next 100 years.
Tonight, Dave welcomes Bob Newhart.
I'd like to thank the Nobel Prize Committee for this wonderful honor. Thank you very much.
Tonight on CBS.
Come to S&C's sale on London Fog. Save 33% on all our men's and women's outerwear and rainwear. Now at Strawbridge and Clothier.
Star 104.5 plays the best songs on the radio. No rap and kid stuff, no soft oldies, no top 40 repetition. Star 104.5. Listen.
Buy a pair of shoes or leather boots and get your second at 50% off. Today through Monday, only at Strawbridge and Clothier.
The governor of Oklahoma tonight pleads guilty to violating campaign spending rules. Governor David Walters will be fined $1,000 with a 1-year sentence deferred. His misdemeanor guilty plea is in return for dismissal of conspiracy and perjury charges. The governor must also give $135,000 from his current fund to the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. A grand jury had returned 20 indictments related to Walter's 1990 campaign contributions.
A Coast Guard cutter fires warning shots at a cargo vessel headed for Haiti. The Coast Guard and the Navy are off the coast of Haiti enforcing United Nations embargo. The shots were fired after the cargo ship apparently ignored orders to change course. No one was hurt. And this was the scene at another United Nations hotspot as U.S. Army Rangers packed up and left Somalia. The Rangers are pulling out after the U.S. military gave up on its plan to capture Somali warlord Mohammed Aidid. Meantime, thousands of Marines are being sent to Somalia to provide additional support for the American forces. Michael Durant, the American pilot who was shot down and captured by Somali gunmen, has undergone surgery now. Doctors placed a pen in his broken right leg. Durant was seriously injured when his copter...
Game. Well, the answer delivered tonight at Veterans Stadium. Last night, the Phillies lost out in what resembled a softball game at a company picnic from 15-14 Blue Jays to Curt Schilling and Juan Guzman. A Toronto win here, and it was all over. But the Phils were loose, not tense after what happened the previous night. Juan Guzman trying to nail it down, an excellent postseason record for the Blue Jays. But in the first, Dykstra on first and running. Borders throws it into center field, and Lenny hustles over to third. 1 out later, John Kruk hitting .400 in the series. Doesn't get the hit here, but gets the run home. It's a 1-0 Philadelphia lead. Bottom of the second, the leadoff man is Darren Dalton. Drives it towards left center. It one hops to the wall, and he gets into second. And then with Cito Gaston wondering if his team would go back to Toronto to have to win again, Kevin Stocker rips one down the line to score Dalton and give the Phillies a 2-0 lead. Top of the third. Jays get the leadoff man on. Guzman bunting. But the Phillies turn the double play as John Kruk was prepared for the bunt and ran in on it nicely. Top of the eighth, still 2-0. Jays put runners at first and third. Nobody out. Ricky Henderson back to Schilling, who stays right with it. William Kenyatte was running for Borders, and they had him in a rundown. He's out, but runners still at first and second. Then Devon White hitting .350, but not here. One of 6 strikeouts for Schilling. Had thrown over 130 pitches at this point, and then he gets Alomar, who was hitting over .420, and Curt Schilling said he was running out of gas, but not running out of pitches. Bottom of the ninth, 2-0 Phils, 2 out, Schilling against Molitor, another one of those 400 hitters in the Jays lineup, but it's up, out, and over. The 100th shutout in World Series history, but Schilling the first shutout in Phils postseason history, as they win it by the score of 2-0, only 10 hits in the game. First road loss in 8 postseason games for the Blue Jays. Last night there were 9 multiple hit batters, just 1 this time around. So it's 3-2, the Jays still leading in the series. And if we compare Game 4 with Game 5, what a difference. What a letdown for the hitters. 27 less runs, 22 less hits, 8 fewer pitchers, 94 fewer pitchers, and it was 1 hour and 21 minutes shorter. So, Dan, we are going to go back to Toronto. The Blue Jays will need to win there. And I had the impression watching Toronto that maybe they were just worn out from swinging the bat and crossing the plate, that they really weren't into this game. They were thinking, let's go back home and win it north of the border.
And I had a chance to talk to Curt Schilling after his rough outing in Toronto in Game 1, and he said, to be honest with you, I was too fine. I gave these guys too much respect. I started to believe the hype that the Blue Jays were invincible hitters. He said, if I get another chance against these guys, I guarantee you, I will just throw the baseball. And we saw that tonight, a brilliant performance. So a day after the highest scoring, longest lasting game in World Series history, the Phillies worked an economical night to extend their World Series hopes to another game. Chris Berman joins us from the vet for the post-game interviews and analysis. Chris?
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Well, you would think that everyone is quietly filing out of the vet. Not tonight. The Phillies have done their John Travolta, done some serious staying alive, as you can hear around us. Peter Gammons and Dave Campbell will join me in just a moment. And I'll tell you what a difference it was from last night to tonight. I mean, here's my scorebook last night with all of the runs, the 29 runs, and the now 32 hits on the scoring change. Now, that's last night's scorebook. Here's what my scorebook looks like tonight. I never did win much neatness awards when I was in junior high school or elementary school, but that book I think I'm going to send to some of my 4th and 3rd grade teachers. It was a nice, neat performance by Curt Schilling this evening. I mean, after all the efforts that Schilling has done, remember, this is his first win in the postseason. He's down on the field with our Jimmy Roberts. James?
Thanks, Chris. Well, I guess tonight there's really not too much confusion about who the star of the game is. Curt Schilling, first pitcher in Phillies history to pitch a complete game shutout. How important was it to go the entire distance tonight?
Well, the bullpen was pretty depleted last night. We got some guys that have thrown a lot of innings, a lot of appearances this year, and they were tired. And this is my last start of the year, so I had to give them as much as I could for as long as I could. And I wanted to finish the game as I do every time I go out on the mound. But you know, tonight defensively, they really picked me up early in the game, and again in the seventh inning, you know, I owed it to these guys.
Eighth inning was huge. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, we had guys on first and third, and you know, up 2 runs allows me to give up a run if I get an out. And Dutch came out and said, you know, we'll give up this run if we get an out. And I said, all right, let's go ahead and do that. But in my mind, I wanted to try and strike him out, and I threw him a 2-2 slider off the plate. He pulled it back up the middle, and luckily I got a glove on it, and they ended up making the play.
Looked to us that you were ahead of the hitters all night, and that had to have been a key for you.
Well, it was, especially after the 6th inning. I was running out of gas, and I knew that I had to mix it up a little bit. I didn't have the good fastball that I had early in the ball game, and you know, Dutch called a tremendous game again tonight, and I can't say enough about what he's done for me and this club this year.
All right, so Curt Schilling, no wins in the NLCS, but one very important win in the World Series. Let's go back to you, Chris.
All right, Jim, and congratulations to Curt Schilling, who certainly pitched his guts out. Dave Campbell, Peter Gavins. Well, there we go. And let's go Phillies, or USA. I guess this must be the Olympics, that none of them want to go through the customs back in Canada. I'll tell you, the toughest inning Schilling had, the only inning he gave up more than 1 hit was the 8th. The 2 leadoff singles, but he came up mighty large, David.
He really did. You know, he had hit in the bottom of the 7th, got a single. I was kind of worried getting on base. That might tire him out a little bit. He comes out, Pat Borders gets a base hit. A pinch run, Willie Cagnati, and then Rob Butler kind of leads one through the right side. First and third, and nobody out. He gets Ricky on the comebacker, and then up stepped Devon White, and he really started doing some of his big-time pitching. Backdoor slider, strike 1. Backdoor slider, strike 2. And backdoor slider, see you later. Robbie Alomar, a backdoor slider, strike 1. Fastball, strike 2. Then the battle was on. Alomar fouled several pitches off. A great battle. And then he finally got him on a splitter. We said he had to throw some off-speed pitches. He had talked about how tired he had been going into the 7th inning, so he started going to the off-speed pitches. Did a terrific job. That was a magnificent performance.
Yeah, he's come up big, certainly, for the season and the postseason for the Phillies. Now, Curt Schilling very early on, Peter, unlike these fans behind us, you can tell he was in control.
Well, actually, it was a very incredibly important thing early in the game, because he had to re-control the series, which he did. He had great stuff. I mean, there was only 1 ball pulled in the air on him all day, 5th inning by John Olerud. But the important thing was he went right out, threw strikes, calmed this whole thing down after last night. 33 batters, he threw 22 first pitch strikes. He was 0-2 on 11 hitters. And most important, only twice in the game did the leadoff hitters get on, both times Pat Borders. And this time here, against Devon White, was a classic. No, Tony Fernandez there, he had the great fastball. But here, Devon White leading off the 4th inning, curveball, fastball, split finger, gets out of that, gets him out of there right before they go to Alomar and Carter. A tremendous job taking all the steam out of this series.
You know what you realize? The more you think you know about this game, the more you realize you know nothing at all. Blue Jays 37 runs in the first 4 games. Egg tonight. We've got plenty more analysis coming up from a still rabid vet. But right now, let's kick it back to SportsCenter for a little sanity, guys.
Thanks very much, Chris. Noisy fans there and happy in Philadelphia. More throughout the show. Of course, Game 6 Saturday night in Toronto.
But now we begin with the NBA. And a day after Sarunas Marciulionis underwent season-ending surgery, the Warriors lost another player for the entire year.
The hero of the game? Was it Dykstra? Who was it tonight?
All of them. It was a team hero effort tonight. What a season. Right now, we're going to go back live outside the vet where Channel 10's Andrew Glassman is standing by with a story guaranteed to make everybody feel good about our Phillies. Right, Andrew?
Absolutely, Jan. You know, we knew going into tonight's game, win or lose, that this was going to be the last chance to see the Phillies play here at home. So we decided to give you a look back at some of the great highlights they've given us this season at the vet.
Kim Baptiste, his first at bat of the season and a base hit.
At the season start, the Phillies let us know they were worth watching this year and that it was worth paying to see them at the vet.
Well, well hit against the wind, extra. And the Phillies have taken a 5-4.
They slugged out their best record in April ever, 17-5, and never looked back. Before the season's end, more fans had seen more action than ever before in Phillies Vet Stadium history. Attendance was a record, 3,137,674.
Lenny won't hit a ball much better than that.
They had plenty to cheer about. The Phils' home record was 52-29, the second best in the majors. But no one was better when it came to dramatic finishes. There was no need to be frightened on Friday the 13th while losing in the bottom of the ninth. Kim Batiste was at the plate.
Well hit! Well hit! This ball is out of here!
The Phillies also had this knack for starting our week on a winning note. They had an incredible streak of winning on Sundays. And on the Sunday we celebrated Mother's Day, the then second-place Cardinals were threatening with a 5-2 lead. Mariano Duncan was up with the bases loaded.
Well hit! Well hit! It might be! It could be! Grand slam! A grand slam home run! Mariano Duncan! Can you believe it? The Phillies lead 6-5 in the eighth.
In their 81 home games, the Phillies hit 80 home runs. Pete Incaviglia led the team with 15 long balls at the Vet.
It is gone. Hey, program in your book.
5 times this year, the Phillies played during the day and offered business person specials, and their record was 5-0.
I brought 94 people down on 2 buses from Reading.
I love it.
It wasn't all business, though, as general manager Lee Thomas discovered on this pitch by hurlers Curt Schilling and Terry Mulholland. Later that day, the Philly fanatic proved that he can play defense.
What a play by the fanatic.
On July 7th, the Phillies played the longest game in Vet history against the Dodgers. We scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 20th inning to win. Earlier the same week, they had played the latest game ever, a doubleheader with the Padres that went on and on until 4:40 in the morning. The Phillies won that game, too, 6-5. Tommy Green did not lose at the Vet during the regular season. He was 10-0, and we watched it all through snow flurries and through a vicious summer heat wave. When the leaves turned red this year in Philadelphia, so did the entire city. For the first time in a decade, the Phillies were in the World Series, and they clinched it at the Vet.
Payoff pitch. He struck him out. And then last night at the Vet, the highest scoring game in World Series history. Tonight, the complete game by Curt Schilling, and we're ready to send the Phillies to Toronto. Live at the Vet, Andrew Glassman, Channel 10 News. Back to you, Ken and James.
And you're right, Andrew. This has been a great season at the Vet, so we'll head to the Great White North now.
You betcha. And up next, well, our team coverage will continue. Inside the Vet, it's going to be Ron Burke and Big Al Meltzer with more highlights and players' reactions from tonight's game. Stay with us.
Right, it's a 4-day furniture riot. We're breaking prices on thousands of brand name items for every room in your house. Truckloads of sofas, beds.
Gosh, the fan's still hanging around.
Yeah, it was worth staying up tonight, too, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I guess the one-word toss that we give to Ron at the Vet is, wow, Ron of the night.
Yeah, well, we could have said the same thing last night, but for different reasons. Let's quickly go back in time and take a look at the highlights as the Phillies and Jays got it on in Game 5. It was Schilling against Guzman, bottom first. Dykstra with the steal, give the error on the play, and it's Dykstra going to third. He later scored on the ground out to make it 1-0. Bottom third, Kevin Stocker would double home Dalton. They elected to pitch to Stocker instead of walking him and pitching to the pitcher. Top 4, Joe Carter strikes out. Alomar caught stealing, a lost opportunity for the Jays, but Jim Fregosi could not rest calmly because he remembers last night. Top 7, Curt Schilling strikes out Olerud, a big strikeout against a key hitter in the Blue Jays lineup. Top of the 8th, Ricky Henderson against Schilling. Runners on the corners. And look what happens. Carlos Cañate gets caught in a rundown. He is out. He was sent in the pinch run, and the Blue Jays lost an opportunity with no outs and runners on the corners. The next batter was Devon White, and Schilling erased him. And then top 9. 2 down. Schilling facing the dangerous Paul Molitor. Nobody on, and Molitor flies out to center to end this game. Schilling a 5-hit complete game shutout. And the Phillies now trail this series 3-2 after the 2-0 win. And Al joins us now with more from the Phillies clubhouse. Al.
Interesting statistic. Did you know, if you didn't, you know now, that the Blue Jays were only shut out once this year?
I heard that somewhere.
Venezuela. And tonight, Curt Schilling does the job. And it's been the case so often with the Phillies all during the year. When they had to do it, they got it done.
We knew what we had to do. You know, we just said that we have to take it one game at a time. Don't worry about trying to win 3 games. We got to win 1, and just take it one at a time. You know, Curt did a great job for us today. He came out, and we got him a couple runs, and he made him stand up.
I was running out of gas in the 7th. I thought that, you know, anytime Darren comes out to me and says we might have to use some mirrors for the last couple outs, I know I'm losing my stuff. We're 10 games into a season we're not supposed to be in. That's the mentality in our clubhouse. There's no pressure on us. We're not even supposed to be here. This club goes about its business as well and as less stressed than any club I've ever been. I mean, we're out here to have, this is fun. This is the World Series. I mean, you dream about being in a spot like this.
The most valuable player in the League Championship Series, the mountain is not quite as high to climb as it was about 5 hours ago. So now it's just 2 games, both in Toronto, and a similar situation because you've got the guys going in Game 6 that went in Game 2.
You got Mulholland.
You got the Smoke Stewart against Terry Mulholland. And as you know, Ron, there are no certainties in this business.
No.
So I think there's got to be a little feeling of edginess in Toronto about the Phillies because the Phillies have been doing this all year long. And it was just the complete antithesis of last night. I cannot believe that after what happened last night, we get a game that ended before midnight. The first game, by the way, they did not go into the next day, and the Phillies win it. And it's their last home game, and it couldn't have been more appropriate.
And it shows you that no matter what the score, you throw those numbers out, whether it's 15-14 or 2-0, the only thing that matters right now, the only numbers that matter, 3-2, and the Phillies now head to Toronto, hoping to win 2 more in this series.
Meet you on the plane to get your backpack.
See you early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
We're on our way to Toronto. For now, we'll throw it back to you guys in the studio.
Hey, that's great. We're all part of history. We love it. Thanks
care.
very much.
So nice to hear the guys say they're having fun, too.
Oh, it sure
that's the key. That's what it's all about.
We'll be right back.
I don't want to go for a test drive.
You're going with Leo. He just ate a bean burrito.
You should have gone to the Conacelli Autoplex. Buy a 94 GMC Sonoma. 0 down and $210 per month. Or a 94 Hyundai Elantra. 0 down and $210 per month. Or a 94 Grand Am. 20% down and only $230 per month. Save up to $2,500 off MSRP on 94 Nissan Altimas or 94 Toyota Camrys. Only at Conacelli.
He put the power windows on lock.
Arnie, Levitt's has lower prices.
Right.
And a huge selection.
Right.
And the furniture's in stock, ready for delivery.
Right.
Then shouldn't everyone shop at Levitt's?
Right.
Especially since only $297 buys this pine and white twin-size bed with trundle unit. Or just $297 buys this twin-size bed with nightstand. And there's a wide selection of matching pieces, also sale price now at Levitt's.
You love it at Levitt's.
In cardiac care, the right team makes all the difference. And you'll find Philadelphia's most experienced cardiac team at the Heart Hospital at Hahnemann University. Every one of our more than 750 physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals is specially trained in cardiac care. And all this skill and dedication is totally focused on the most important people of all, our patients. The Heart Hospital at Hahnemann University.
It comes with a 56-inch diagonal viewing area, stereo sound, noise reduction, and quadra-track for remote operation. It has an optional V8 for fast tracking between stations, 4-wheel anti-lock brakes, and a driver's side airbag. Presenting Jeep Grand Cherokee, the ultimate entertainment center. Available for viewing at a dealer near you. Now save up to $1,750 on select Grand Cherokees.
My years in football taught me the value of a great health plan. Hello, I'm Dick Vermeil. Everyday life has its bumps and bruises, too. And that's why Independence Blue Cross and Pennsylvania Blue Shield have added the new personal choice to our game plan.
There's no need to enroll with a primary care physician, and you don't need a referral to see a specialist. Office visits are covered, and there are no claim forms. Now, what could be easier?
Call 1-800-ASK-BLUE for all the benefits of personal choice. The health plan that controls cost, not people.
She celebrates the grand opening of our newest